Alright, so you being a fan of not only comic books but comic book movies, do you think it's high time that all the actors portraying superheroes just come out and say that they're on steroids?
I mean, yeah.
Like, what's the reasoning behind the fact that they all say that they did it naturally?
They just ate a bunch of grapefruit and did sit-ups.
Is it studios saying, like, hey, you can't do this because little kids look up to you and we have to put the idea in their minds that they can do this themselves without cheating?
Oh, not even that. Just, you can't be seen as somebody who... I mean, steroids are illegal. They are still technically illegal drugs because we live in a very primitive country that has silly, unnecessary laws about what people can and can't do with their own bodies. But, yeah, it's just, they're illegal drugs and they have a very nasty reputation in the U.S. Like, you say steroids, people go, oh! They clutch their pearls,
Uh-huh.
So I don't think these actors want to come out and be like, yeah, if you want to look like this, you pretty much have to do steroids.
Yeah.
Or you have to live in the weight room and the kitchen and live this life from when you're like 14 and maybe when you're like 30 you'll look something like that.
Yeah.
Otherwise you have to juice,
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, stigma. It would hurt their careers. Like if Chris Hemsworth were just like, yeah, you know what, I've actually been doing steroids this whole time, that's why I'm this jacked, obviously, like, come on guys, are you stupid?
Yeah.
That would tank his career.
Yeah.
They'd cancel him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's so silly because, like, you're looking at, like, guys that, like, 6 months before were doing just like, oh yeah, I'm a geeky tech guy in Michael Mann's Black Hat, and now I'm back doing my Marvel movies, and
six
nutrition,
months, I got stacked. Yeah.
And I mean, I would make the argument that yes, if you have a full-time nutritionist and physical trainer, you already have a substantial leg up over every other dude.
Hell yeah.
But even that, like, the body can only take so much, So, yeah, I really do think it is the silliest thing. And then, somebody like The Rock saying that he's all natural is quite possibly the most preposterous thing I've ever heard.
It's silly. Like, you're a 52-year-old man.
Yeah.
You want me to believe you look like that just because you watch your diet and you're a real hard worker? Get the fuck out of here, man. You're full of it, And like, well, no, but even more than that, like the way that they put on size overnight, it's like you can't get huge in 6 months. It takes 10 years of hard work to get huge if you're natty.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It just does.
Yeah. I mean, speaking as somebody who's been really... There's been ebbs and flows for sure, but I've been very committed to fitness since I was about 20 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And your body just will find a natural state after that, which is great.
Mm-hmm.
But it still does take a concerted effort to put on that much size. I mean, for the last, pretty much since January of this year, I've been doing mass gainer and upped my calories significantly and been lifting heavy weights, at least 3 times a week, trying to hit the 200-pound mark, and I have been sitting at 190 to 193, for pretty much that entire time. I put up, because I usually sit, just standard, I usually sit around 180 to 185. So, there's definitely been improvement, but, dude, trying to get over that, 195 hump is damn near impossible. And
once you're already strong and you're already a trained athlete who got his newbie gains out of the way, putting on lean mass over that is difficult.
Yeah.
And you and I are both genetically gifted in the muscle category.
Yeah.
We're both guys who build muscle faster than average.
Yeah.
It's still hard.
Yeah. I remember talking to my dad about it. He was it's like, yeah, man, I can put on weight like nobody's business. I'm like, where did that gene go for me? Like, I mean, like, I can put it on the belly, like, if I was not trying, but yeah, man, it is hard to do both. It is really hard to do the lean muscle thing, man.
Oh, that's almost impossible.
Yeah, but, you know, if you work hard and eat well and, you know, focus your mind, you can do anything, as we drink our very unhealthy liquor.
It's good for the soul.
Goddamn right. Welcome back to the Jony Horror Podcast. I am one of your hosts, Jony Horror, and with me, my partner in crime. I really feel like it shouldn't be partner in crime because, like, we're like talking about like superheroes and stuff like that. It should be like the dynamic duo, sort of a deal. Like, not that I would ever consider myself Batman. We can both be Batman. There's two Batmen. Kalen Behrman, ladies and gentlemen. And we are continuing our, or I should say, we're closing out our discussion on M. Night Shyamalan's Eastrail 177 trilogy. Up to this point, we have discussed Unbreakable. We have discussed its sleeper sequel, Split, and or stealth sequel rather, and we are now discussing the grand finale, Glass, which is very exciting, because I think going into this, both you and I had a certain dour vibe about ending with this film that maybe might have changed a little bit, but you know, before we jump the gun on that, Kalen, do you want to tell me a little bit about the time in between when you found out that Split was the stealth sequel to Unbreakable and the lead up to seeing Glass? What is that? Do you recall any of like your theories about how this third film was going to play out at all?
Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't know so much about like theories so much as expectations. I guess I expected a thriller. Not to, again, not to jump the gun too fast here, but I kind of thought we would get something a little bit Silence of the Lambs.
Yeah.
Yeah. I kind of thought that's the direction we're going.
That actually would have been really freaking cool, actually. Damn!
Yeah. That's something I'm going to speak on more later.
Yeah.
But that's kind of what I was imagining.
Yeah, I myself don't really recall too much other than just like pure, just excitement. Mm-hmm. Just being so thrilled, and then I do remember when like the trailers came out and everything like that. They were promising, mm-hmm. you know, and why don't you tell me a little bit about the first time you watched Glass?
Well, it was opening night.
Yes.
And I went and I sat down in the movie theater, and then someone next to me went, "Hey, And I looked over, and Johnny and his wife were sitting next to me and my girlfriend.
Not anything that we had planned at all. It's funny. And if you have listened to our last two podcasts and several before, you probably already heard this story, but you know that if there was ever like some sort of proof that maybe there is such a thing as fate, like this story really is.
If God exists, this is strong evidence for that case. Yeah.
Because just the coincidence alone is astounding. Mm-hmm. Because for years you and I had bonded over our love for Unbreakable.
It's true.
As we said in the last episode, when I got out of Split, I texted you immediately. Mm-hmm. Go see this movie as fast as you can. Don't look up anything about it, because I knew how special that experience was for me, and I wanted that experience to be as special for you, that realization of what Split actually was. And even just those two things combined, like, that was already, like, it was already kind of like our movies. Like, you know.
Very much so.
And the sheer fact that Celeste is like elbowing me, like as the lights are dimming, like trailers are about to start. Like, I don't even think you and I were even able to be as like excited about the whole thing, because it's very odd. Like the whole thing was just odd. But Celeste is like nudging me. She's going, hey, is this Kalen right next to me? And I look over and I'm like, son of a bitch! I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, he had was he stalking me? Like, what's going on here?
Yes, I was stalking you.
That would make more sense than you just appearing, like, in the seats right next to us. And neither one of us having noticed each other before then, you know?
That's pretty funny.
And like, I said hi, and you said hi, and we both kind of, I feel like we kind of chuckled, and it was just like...
Yeah. It's like, well, that's funny.
But, like, it was, like, this thing of, like, couldn't even really wrap my head around the fact that you were there. And I was shocked. Like, it was just, like...
serendipitous.
Yeah. So, I don't know any other way to describe it. It was truly, like, a magical moment that you could really only have in the cinema.
Yep. Damn right.
And then we watched that movie, and I think I looked over to you at the end, and I think you said something along the lines of, that's not what I expected, more or less.
Yeah.
And I think we both felt that way. I think most people felt that way, if I could speak for the general population. And we'll leave it at that for now. Before we continue our discussion on Glass, we are going to talk about some other films. This is a horror podcast, and while I don't really consider Glass to be much of a horror movie, we will talk about some horror movies in our next section, the Jony Horror News. So here at the Jony Horror News, we just discuss anything new and notable in the world of horror, whether it be films, just news about this, that, or the other. A couple of sad headlines that we got this past week that were a bummer was that the gal who plays Chrissy in the opening scene of Jaws passed at 77. That's just like, I don't know, like we really are kind of like on the last couple of people standing that, were involved in that film. So to see her go was was definitely a sad one for me. And then followed up the next morning, which happened to be Mother's Day, I believe. We found out that Roger Corman died. The legendary,
the great Roger Corman.
Yeah. He also was in his 90s.
Yep. His late 90s.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think he was very, very close to breaking that hundo mark. So I would say that is certainly more of a celebration of life than anything else, but it's still just like one of those, like, man, like, kind of thought he was going to be around for a little while longer. You know, I just seen him do an interview on Joe Bob Briggs, and you know, he was talking, and it's just like, he still seemed very youthful even for his age. So it was like one of those ones that, so when I saw it, I was like, damn, I just wasn't expecting that. So that was a little bit of stuff on the sad side. This freaking airplane going over right now. How dare you! Don't you know
our airspace?
We're recording a podcast. God damn you! This is art.
Sorry, don't slam the table.
It was just my watch last time. It thought I fell. I think you can slam the table all you want, but anything on your end that you want to discuss as far as horror news?
Yeah. So for those of you, I mean, if you're interested in horror and you're interested in film, you very likely know who Chris Stuckman is, from the Chris Stuckman YouTube channel. He was famous for being a YouTube film critic. He was my favorite film critic, more or less, since like Roger Ebert's been gone, if I'm being totally honest with you.
Wow.
Yeah. He's not really a critic anymore. He's more of a filmmaker who does movie commentary now, because he doesn't feel like being a full-blown film critic is really appropriate now that he's entered the ranks of professional directors. Anyway, his directorial debut is a film called Shelby Oaks. Mm-hmm. This was a Kickstarter movie. Mm-hmm. I think they set the goal at like $200,000, and I think they made like $1.5 million.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I backed the movie.
Nice.
Paper Street Productions and Aaron B. Kuntz came on as a producing partner. Mm-hmm. And they got the movie shot quite some time ago. I want to say 2021, 2022. Yeah. The principal's been done for a long time. They've got picture lock on everything except for the credits, and it's going to be debuting at the Fantasia Film Festival in July. Nice. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to that. I think Stuckman seems like a guy who understands movies. He seems like a talented dude. His producing partners seem pretty excited about it. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing that movie. And Mike Flanagan also came on late as an executive producer of the film as well. Mm. And speaking of Mike Flanagan, he has been given the reins to the Exorcist franchise going forward as Michael Gordon Green departs.
David Gordon Green.
Damn it. Who's Michael Gordon Green?
I don't know. He's somebody.
Michael Green is a screenwriter. That's what it is. David Gordon Green, who I like a lot, is departing the Exorcist franchise, and Flanagan's taking over.
I feel like that was probably a good thing for David Gordon Green's health, because I'm sure he's just tired of getting angry tweets.
Yes, I think he's tired of just the whole world just
horror fans
dumping on him. Yeah.
Which, as we both discussed, I certainly did not dislike. Did not dislike the most recent Exorcist film.
No, I liked it too.
Far and away better than most of the other sequels. So, though we have not had a full-blown discussion about it, I am actually a big fan of Halloween Ends. I know you are not, but I fucking love that movie. So I've come around to it a little bit, maybe.
Yeah. Kills and Ends. I've come around to more.
I was thinking about Kills the other day actually, and I'm like, it is a wild, weird movie, but I'm like, that's part of its charm to me. Right. It is a '80s slasher for that was made in modern times as far as I'm concerned, because it's just this gore fest that's just has silly characters and people doing outlandish things that normal people would never do. So I'm like, that is what an '80s slasher is. Right. So in those terms, I like that movie a lot. But I digress. Mike Flanagan is really probably unless we're talking about somebody just completely out of left field, as far as people that are in the horror sphere pretty consistently, I think he's probably one of the better choices because he has such a for lack of a better expression, hug me horror vibe about him. All of his so much of his content manages to have very dark stuff and sad stuff, but also kind of end on a positive note. I don't think I can think of one Flanagan movie, at least that I've seen, and there are, I am missing a couple, but even his shows and everything, so much of them do have this uplifting tone, and very rarely do they end on a full-blown dour note. So that could work for The Exorcist. I'm not really sure where they go from here, if they keep on doing the storyline that they're doing, or if they're going to do something different, but either way, that is fairly interesting to me to see how that plays out. I don't have super duper a lot in the terms of actual horror related news. I will say that I watched the Western crime thriller The Last Stop in Yuma County over the weekend, and I thought it was fucking fantastic. Debut for directorial debut for an up and coming director, Francis Galuppi, I believe is how you say his last name. It was like watching early Tarantino and early Robert Rodriguez. Not somebody who's trying to imitate them, but somebody who's working in the same vein as them. It is a fucking impressive film debut, and he was actually able to score an Evil Dead film out of that. Wow. So I think we have 2 Evil Dead films on the horizon, and he is doing one of them. I can't remember who's supposed to be doing the other one, but very exciting in those terms. And that movie is great. I highly recommend everyone check it out. You can get it on I rented it on Amazon. You can rent it on Apple TV, and it is getting a theatrical release right now too. So awesome. And since we are talking superheroes, I feel like we had discussed Deadpool and Wolverine on this podcast, but I feel like at the time we had only seen the teaser that released during Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. We now have a full-blown trailer for it. What were your thoughts?
I'm not totally sure, but I'm excited. I'll be very excited to see the movie when it comes out. Yeah. I'm not 100% certain. I don't know exactly what they're doing. I don't know exactly what direction they're taking. Yeah. But speaking broadly, I trust Ryan Reynolds on Deadpool. He seems like he really loves the character in this story, and I don't think Hugh Jackman would have come back on a bad pitch. Yeah. I just don't think he would have.
Well, I mean, they said that even Feige tried to talk him out of it, which that's insane. Right. I mean, it really is, yeah. That's insane that, the leader of, Marvel and cinema is hey, yeah, I know everyone loves you, and you are this iconic character, and this would do wonders for this movie, but don't do it.
Yeah.
Like, you already ended on a perfect note.
You already had a perfect ending. Yeah. Yep.
So my thought was, I was like, well, whatever Ryan Reynolds said to Hugh Jackman, or whatever Disney promised to Hugh Jackman.
Right. Yeah. Our boy's getting paid for sure.
You know, I'm very excited to see certain characters pop back up. Lady Deathstrike, Pyro.
Yeah.
Looks like Ant-Man had a bad fucking day.
Yeah. Well, and they're doing it. It looks like they're doing. This is gonna be a little bit of a deep cut for people, and that's okay. But it looks like they're doing Cassandra Nova as the bad guy.
Yeah, Xavier's sister.
Yes.
Yeah.
His twin sister who should have died in the womb. It's a weird story. It's based on Grant Morrison's new X-Men, and Grant Morrison is like not so much a person as he's like a wizard from the fifth dimension that comes to our dimension to write comic books that are really trippy. So it's really, I mean that in a pretty serious way, so it's kind of hard to explain. But Cassandra Nova is an interesting character, and it suggests an interesting story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool. Very, very cool. Trying to think if there's anything else, because I feel like we're just kind of in this weird limbo space right now with horror stuff. Can't even think of. I think the new Strangers movies are the first one's supposed to start or drop sometime in May. I'm really excited for Furiosa.
Hell yeah.
Reviews just dropped for that today.
Hell yeah.
Surprise, surprise, they're positive.
Can't wait.
I forget what festival is going on right now, but that's the one that they just did their, screening at, and they all got a fucking standing ovation for that movie. So very, very excited for that. Curious to see how it differs from Fury Road, because you look at a lot of the stuff and it looks, very much in the same vein. So
it's similar.
Curious to see how they make it, their own.
I saw some reactions today from some people I like that were just non-spoiler general reactions, and they were all super positive, and they all said it's a lot different than Fury Road.
That's awesome.
So
that's really great.
I'm very curious to see what's coming. I actually sent you a Hideo Kojima's reaction.
Yes, yes you did. Yes you did, and that was like that was something that I was like, yeah, I like that. That's a positive thing.
Right.
It's a very, very positive thing.
And I know you're not like the biggest gamer, but Hideo Kojima is kind of known for being one of the greatest creatives and storytellers in the history of gaming.
Is he
from the 90s to today? He's the Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah, I was gonna say I saw who he was. That is like Metal Gear Solid. I was like, oh, he's that
a genius. Guy. Yeah, he's absolutely brilliant.
Yeah. So that's pretty positive.
Yeah.
Good stuff. All right. Well, I'm a bit thirsty. Are you a bit thirsty?
A little bit thirsty.
All right. Well, let's head on over to Johnny's Well. Here at Johnny's Well, as we've said a bunch of times before, got a couple of bartenders right here who are not only passionate about movies, but passionate about alcohol. So, as we're known to do on this podcast, we are going to talk about booze and how it relates to the movie we are discussing tonight. First and foremost, sir, what are you sipping on at this very moment?
I am drinking an old-fashioned made with Woodford Reserve rye whiskey, a little bit of simple syrup, some Angostura bitters, a lemon peel, and a Luxardo cherry, made by my good friend Jonathan Maresco over here.
Ahoy.
It's quite lovely.
Yeah.
Really hitting the spot.
I am drinking the same, believe it or not. Turned out very good. And you made a very good remark in terms of a lot of times with old-fashioned folks, they're known for having orange peels in there, and I told Kalen, I was like, I only have a lemon peel. At my work, we do a lemon peel and an orange peel in our old-fashions. So I was pretty comfortable just doing the lemon peel, and he said that he does an orange peel for bourbon because it brings out the vanilla notes, right? And he does a lemon peel for rye because the sweet citrusy helps balance out the bite of the rye. And so not only did that make me feel like really good about my choice, but it was a little nugget of knowledge for your boy over here who is always, man, I just love learning stuff about alcohol, man. It's actually one of my favorite like trips to go down in the Instagram verse is just like finding people and like bartenders like doing cocktail videos and stuff like that. Man, I love that stuff so much.
Same.
It's so fascinating to me. And educational, since that is my line of work. So, well, sir, we are discussing 2019's Glass, and we're gonna try and keep the puns to a minimum here, as far as glassware and whatnot, and drinking and all that. What drink would you pair with Glass?
So, I wanted a drink that was something that's fun to drink, something that's enjoyable to drink, something that will sneak up on you. And I was hoping I could think of something that played with the colors of the movie well. Because you always do that, and then I always feel bad because my drinks are always just literally what I would want to drink with the movie. I never theme it out. So this time I combined those two. And I'm drinking a Bramble with this movie.
Hell yeah.
A Bramble is a type of gin sour. I serve it in a double old-fashioned glass like this. 2 ounces of a good London dry gin. You're going to do 3/4 of an ounce-ish of fresh squeezed lemon juice, 3/4 of an ounce of simple syrup. You're going to shake that with some crushed ice, a little bit of crushed ice. You're going to fill your glass with crushed ice, and you're going to pour the basically gin lemon sour that you have over your crushed ice. And then you're going to add 1/2 ounce of a creme de mure blackberry liqueur on top.
I love that.
You have a beautiful yellow and purple drink that is just fantastic. And the creme de mure, it plays beautifully with the lemon.
Yes.
And the gin makes it all sing. And it's just refreshing and delicious. I like to garnish that with, I like to roll up a lemon peel, skewer the lemon peel, and then skewer a blackberry and lay that on top nicely next to their straw.
That just sounds spectacular.
Yeah. It's a good one.
I'm changing my drink, like, just mid thing. I had a whole thing picked out. I'll tell you what it was in a minute, but you got the yellow and the purple for our boys, so I think I'll be Team David Dunn over here, Team Overseer. I am going to keep with your theme of gin, and I'm going to do a gin gimlet. That's right. So the way I've taken to making my gimlets at work now, I do get a bucket glass, and I put a large cube in there, and I get my mixing tin. I take 1 lime wedge, fresh lime wedge, I muddle that, and then I do 3/4 of an ounce of simple, about 1/2 ounce of lime juice, because we already got 1 lime in there, but I want a little bit more juice. And then I do about 2 ounces of, your preferred gin. We'll just go with Hendrick's, because Hendrick's is nice.
Why not?
And then I've started doing a couple of dashes of fee foam bitters, which, for those of you who are unfamiliar, fee foam bitters is essentially a substitute for an egg white. So
you get those from the Fee Brothers?
I do believe so, yeah. And egg white in like a whiskey sour makes it kind of foamy. Kind of adds this layer of foam and makes it fluffy, yes. So I've just done a couple of dashes of that in my gimlets lately, just to kind of give it that extra something, So we'll do a dry shake with that. Dry shake meaning no ice. And that helps it build up a little bit extra foam. We'll do a wet shake. You throw the ice in there, shake it up. double strain that into our bucket glass with a big cube, and garnish it with a dried lime wheel and a mint sprig, and you have this nice white layer on top from the foam, and a pretty greenish hue from your gimlet. It is very, very refreshing. So we got our purple, our yellow, and our green right
That's
there.
Right.
The other drink that I had was a drink that I spied off of a bar in Pennsylvania. There I was going for a theme, because our movies, our trilogy takes place in Philadelphia. And it's called a Pennsylvania Punch, and it was also a gin-based drink.
Okay.
With lemon, honey, and splash of Aperol. So that sounded actually pretty tasty too.
I'm sure that's great.
I mean,
yeah,
kind of hard to go wrong with any of those ingredients.
Right.
So, and now that we got our drinks, if you're feeling a little peckish, get some snacks going on. Maybe I don't know. We're at a bar. Maybe we get some potato skins, maybe some sweet potato fries, or maybe one of those nice big pretzels that they serve at restaurants now with the 3 different sauces. Something to munch on. Sometimes our movies that we discuss on this podcast, have lots of blood and gore and ooze and pus and guts, and maybe you don't want to eat a slice of ooey gooey cheesy pizza while you're watching all that unfold. But Kalen, would you consider Glass a movie that's safe to eat with?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This movie is pretty tame.
Absolutely.
Especially compared to its immediate predecessor.
Yes.
Pretty tame. And overall pretty tame. Less of a horror movie.
Yeah, 100%. Couldn't agree more. Well, now that we're nice and liquored up, ready to tame this Bronco, I suppose we head on over to our next section entitled Blah Blah Blah. You've seen it all before. What? Here at Blah Blah Blah, you've seen it all before, we just talk about the movie itself. We're going to talk about the plot, and we're going to talk about the production. So this is M. Night Shyamalan's 2019 superhero flick, Glass. It is the 3rd in a trilogy, the concluding chapter. And Kalen, would you do the honors of giving the plot breakdown for this film?
Absolutely. So we pick up pretty immediately in the aftermath of the film Split.
Yes.
The Horde is loose in Philadelphia and doing what the Horde does, kidnapping young women and eating them.
Totally normal.
And we discover that David Dunn has been continuing his superhero escapades in the city of Philadelphia in the 19 years since we last saw him in the film Unbreakable. Mm-hmm. Our boy has been going around in his hood and his cloak, doing superhero stuff, given many names by the media, but the Overseer seems to be the one that has stuck the most. And he is hip to the fact that there is a guy out there called the Horde kidnapping young women, and he's searching to take him out. And at some point, our main characters are apprehended and find themselves in an insane asylum, in a psychiatric hospital with a psychiatrist who wants to convince them that all of this is a delusion that's simply going on in their heads.
Indeed.
And that's the pitch.
That was very, very well done, sir. Thank you. Appreciate that. Usually, when we do the Jaws cast, and it's Brian and I give him an opportunity to do a bad version of that, and he takes it to the nth degree to where I don't even know what he's talking about. And I'm like, Brian, you have to explain what you're talking about, because if I don't know what you're talking, they're definitely not going to know what you're talking about.
Right.
So explain beat by beat, and then he flat out refuses. So I have to explain.
He's just like the guy with the glasses. You know, he had a gun.
And I'm like this. I really regret giving you the keys to this car, even for a brief moment. All right. So that is the plot. Now on to the production. As per usual, I will be taking all of this behind the scenes nitty gritty from Wikipedia. So thank you so much to anyone and everyone who has contributed to the Wikipedia page for Glass. Here we go. After the release of M. Night Shyamalan's Unbreakable in 2000, rumors of a possible sequel began circulating in different interviews and on film fan sites. At the time, Bruce Willis, who played David Dunn, was quoted as saying he hoped there would be an Unbreakable trilogy. But in December 2000, Shyamalan denied rumors that he had written Unbreakable as the first installment of a trilogy. In August 2001, he stated that because of the successful DVD sales, he approached Touchstone about an Unbreakable sequel, but the studio originally declined because of the film's disappointing box office performance. In September 2008, Shyamalan and star Sam Jackson, who played Elijah Price, Mr. Glass, stated discussions about making a sequel had been largely abandoned in light of the disappointing box office returns. Jackson indicated he was still interested in a sequel, but Shyamalan remained non-committal. In February of 2010, Willis and Shyamalan said they were still thinking about doing the fight movie between him and Sam, and stated that as long as Jackson was able to participate, he would be up for it. Shyamalan worked on various unrelated films after Unbreakable before releasing Split, which introduces the split personality character Kevin Wendell Crumb, aka The Horde, played by James McAvoy. Crumb had been included in the initial script of Unbreakable, but Shyamalan felt the character created balancing issues and removed him from the story. Shyamalan has said a bunch of scenes in Split were originally written for Unbreakable. In the final scene of Split, Willis's Dunn is seen learning about the escape of the Horde and thereby realizing that other superhumans exist, as predicted by Jackson's Mr. Glass. Unbreakable was produced and owned by Touchstone Pictures, a label of Walt Disney Studios, while Split was produced through Universal Pictures. So, Shyamalan came to a gentleman's agreement whereby Bailey agreed to allow the use of the character in the film without a fee, and Shyamalan promised that Disney would be involved in the sequel if it ever developed. Split was met with critical and financial success in January 2017. Shyamalan stated that although he hoped a third Unbreakable film would be made, and he had already had an outline prepared, I don't know what's going to happen when I go off in my room for a week after this film opens up to write the script. The next month, he affirmed his next film would be the third work in the trilogy. He finished the script by April, at which point he announced the new film would be called Glass and have a target release date of January 18th, 2019. Universal was selected to distribute the film in the United States, while Disney distributed the film internationally through its Buena Vista International label. Shyamalan has been asked numerous times if there will be a sequel to Glass. In January 2019, he officially confirmed that no sequels are currently planned, adding that he has no interest in building a cinematic universe. Okay. Most of that we kind of already knew. It's a lot more background about, how we got from Unbreakable to Split and from Split to Glass. Yeah, so it's interesting. I don't think I knew the bit about how Universal distributed it here, and then Disney got the rights to distribute it internationally. But
I had no idea.
I was wondering how it all broke down.
Right,
Because
mixed distribution is not super common.
No, particularly with competing studios like that. I mean, now you got to think of it in terms like Disney now owns 20th Century Fox.
I know.
I think they technically own Miramax too. They have their hands on damn near everything. Universal is like, off in its own world, doing its own thing. And I think there's talk that Disney might get Paramount too, or
no,
Universal might get Paramount.
There's been speculation that Universal could be interested in acquiring Paramount, and there's been speculation that Universal could be interested in acquiring Warner Brothers. But none of that seems to be imminent.
Gotcha. Anywho, we don't really need to go into casting. Everyone from the other movies.
That's right. It's you remember the cast we talked about before? That's it.
They're all back. We got a little bit here about filming. As with The Visit and Split, Shyamalan funded the film himself. Insane.
Wild. Yeah.
Principal photography began on October 2nd, 2017. It's just so crazy. Like, Split was released in January of 2017. That's just...
I know.
That's hardcore right there, man. I admire the hell out of that.
I admire that he wanted to make it happen. He was like, I've got a bunch of people that are hard to get together in one place, and I'm going to make this
do it.
Go.
I love that. Yeah, so principal photography began in October 2017 in Philadelphia following a week of rehearsals. It's always cool when they get fucking rehearsals. With plans of a 39-day shoot. On October 31st, it was reported that Shyamalan would be filming at Allentown State Hospital for a few weeks. On December 12th, Shyamalan revealed that 4 scenes would be shot in January 2018, stating that he would have to travel for their filming. And then that's all it says about that, so... Okay. Post-production. Deleted footage from Unbreakable was edited into the film as flashbacks for Elijah and Joseph's childhood. Okay, so that's kind of the little bit that we got as far as, the production of the film. Again, unless these films have particularly troubled productions, there's not a lot to report. Stuff goes as planned, and
we shot a movie.
Yeah, it's just like any other day at the office, basically. Like, you go to your job and you do your job. Like, it becomes, you forget about it. You forget about all the normal days. It's only when shit is either really, really good, like something incredible happens, or something really bad happens that it's worth talking about. So, in those terms, blah, blah, blah. You've seen it all before. This is just business as usual. He was able to... I mean, the most fascinating part of that is that Split was released the same year that this movie started filming, to me. Like, that's just... super duper incredible.
It's pretty wild.
He was able to get all his ducks in a row, Well, without any further ado, let's fucking dive into this shit with our next category, the good stuff. So here are the good stuff. We just talk about the stuff we liked about the movie. And I think the next 2 sections will keep us busy for probably the next hour and a half. So let's waste zero fucking time. And Kalen, tell me one of the things you like about Glass.
The
suspense is killing me.
I know. Right from the beginning of the movie, again, Shyamalan reminds us what a good communicator of early information he is. when Bruce Willis, as the caped crusader that is the overseer, he catches some douchebags doing a knockout challenge, and he follows them home. He breaks into their house, and he gives them what for. We see a light turn off, and some jock punk runs into the room to beat him up, and we just see that guy fly. Like, it's kind of obscure because it's dark. You see him fly over a table and hit a wall. It's really beautiful. And then when the other guy gets a look at him, and he sees the silhouette of the
poncho,
the rain poncho, the rain poncho that he's wearing that looks like a guy wearing a hood and a cape. He says, "Shit, it's you." So that lets us know that not only has the Overseer been active for the last 19 years, but he's acquired a certain level of fame in that time. Like, people know the Overseer is wandering the streets of Philadelphia, looking to put bad people in their place.
Yeah. Definitely has a Batman feel.
Very much so.
Which I'm 100% sure that was the intent.
Absolutely. You know? I'm very on board with that.
I just left my first good one from Split.
Okay.
On my list here, which is James McAvoy.
Yep.
He does. I think he does more in this movie than he even does in Split.
He does,
which is just insane.
He clearly does. Like, he plainly does. It's kind of wild. Yeah.
I read a thing that Sam Jackson said where he's like, I think I'm pretty good at what I do. Like, I've been doing it for a long time, and I take pride in my work. And he's like, but watching someone jump from personality to personality like 4 times in a scene to perfection, he's like, it is very humbling. And like, I'm like, that is Sam fucking Jackson saying that he got put in his place, basically. There's the scene with, dude, there are like probably like anywhere between 5 to 10 scenes where James McAvoy changes character multiple times in the same shot. Fucking astounding, dude.
It's crazy. It's crazy. Remember how we were talking about Split, and I was like, listen, audience, if you don't understand how hard that is, believe me when I say it's very hard. I used an absurd metaphor about telling a teenager to pole vault over a house.
You said a 5-year-old, and that's I was like, that is the best fucking thing I've heard all night.
You're like, no one even knows what pole vaulting is. I'm like, all right, well, anyway.
Oh, I'm so glad you brought that back.
But it is incredibly difficult to. It's really hard to act as like one character. Like, that's difficult.
Yes.
So to go from like character to character to character, he's going from like a tough Brooklyn dude to like a prim and proper lady to like a 9-year-old boy to like a guy who's into like fashion design to like he went to a character that didn't speak English.
Yeah.
And, like, just like, that is few people can do that.
Yeah.
And almost nobody can do that as well as he did that.
Yeah, it's such a treat, man. Like, he goes like from like this rancher dude to this he does the whole Jade bit, like the sexy girl with the diabetes and all that.
That's right.
And then Kevin Wendell Crumb gets flushed out a little bit more, or fleshed out, I should say, a little bit more in this one. We actually get to see the character that is Kevin a number of times as opposed to the one time that we see him in Split, basically.
That's right.
And so fucking weird to say this, but the characters that he plays, those personalities get more character development.
They do. They literally,
Yeah, like...
They do.
Like, the pathos, like, for somebody like Dennis. And even Patricia.
Dennis has a story arc in this movie.
Yes.
It's crazy. Like, wait, Dennis has a story? Yes, Dennis has a story arc.
And so does Patricia, because Patricia does go through this phase of like, was I wrong about the beast and everything? Mm-hmm. And then she's like, oh God, I believe this. And then at the end, she's like, don't you ever let them know that I doubted. Don't you ever like... Mm-hmm. The levels of just like... It's really incredible in those terms.
It's very good.
Yeah.
It's very good.
And again, we can't, give all the praise to McAvoy. Like, this is a pairing between him and Shyamalan.
Absolutely.
Is just a match made in heaven.
Shyamalan's writing, Shyamalan's directing.
Yeah.
And
knowing, particularly, this is like where I'm talking about like how James McAvoy gets so even more to do in this movie because Shyamalan saw what he did in Split. Yeah, it's like, all right, cool. Okay, cool. We can amp it up. We can
dial that up as much as we want to. You're just gonna handle it.
Yep. Fucking love that, man.
Yeah.
That is a good fucking partnership right there.
It's great. I hope they work together again.
Yeah, me too. Continue, sir, please.
Well, I also had James McAvoy on mine. Let's see. I kind of liked there's a little bit of a continuity. There's actually really good continuity in this movie from the other movies.
It's great. It's all pretty great, actually.
I wrote down one line to remind me of that, and that was Shyamalan had a cameo in Unbreakable, where he cameos as a drug dealer at the football stadium at the college that David Dunn works at. And then he had a cameo as a security professional of some sort at the place where Kevin Wendell Crumb's psychologist lives. And then we find out in this movie that he was cameoing as the same character. That wasn't a continuity error.
Yeah.
When he says, didn't you used to work at the stadium? Yeah, I used to hang out with some shady types back then, but I turned it around, positive thinking. And it's like, oh, okay, so that he is the same guy.
Yeah.
He just went and turned his life around.
I don't want to jump the gun. I have that whole bit in my bads.
Oh,
just
cool.
Because, we'll just talk about it here because we're talking about it.
Sure.
I agree. I like the continuity. It just, I found it wholly unnecessary to, like, everything else. I get why he kind of did it, so he could be like, oh yeah, this is not a doppelganger scenario. It's like the same person. I was like, all right, buddy. Like, I get it. Like, also, like, I don't know, that the character in Unbreakable feels very different to me.
Yeah.
Than this character. And again, you could say, positive thinking. He changed his life.
Well, it's 19 years later.
Yeah.
I'm true. Different than I was 19 years ago.
You would have been like, what? Fucking
young.
How old would you have been?
Johnny's like, I have to do the math.
It's fine. I'm a bartender, not a mathematician. just fucking simple addition and subtraction is I'm
an athlete, not a mathlete.
Damn it, Jim.
Points for the Star Trek reference.
Yes, thank you. That's I agree. The continuity aspect I respect. It's just like it felt a tad bit too indulgent for me.
Sure.
I also just feel
if we're gonna get into that, this movie is exceptionally indulgent.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Well, I guess we'll cover that. So I'll stop there because we're talking about good stuff and not bad stuff. But I agree. The continuity aspect of all three films, particularly when you throw in some of the Unbreakable footage, which I just think is spectacular, especially when you pair it with James Newton Howard's score, because he does not score Split or Glass.
I wish he had.
I wish he had too. But that being said, I will say that one of my goods is the score. I actually really, really like the score in this movie. There's a lot going on. Even that opening kind of sort of this like building sort of suspense thing. I really enjoy the score. It is by a gentleman. I should know this because I was looking him up left and right when I was trying to find a song to post with our little icon when I put our podcast release on my story for Instagram. I always try and find a song that is goes along with or something like that, and I was looking up the composer several times to try and find the right song. So I'm babbling as I'm trying to scroll down fucking IMDb. Jesus Christ.
Who did the music?
Son of a bitch. West Dylan Thordson. There we go.
Nice.
But like the beginning track, he's able to work in the Unbreakable theme in a number of spots. His own rendition of it. I know that the actual James Newton Howard score is used in the film, but he also has a rendition or two of the Unbreakable theme. And then the final theme that is used at the end of the film and goes into the credits and is used a couple of times throughout the rest of the movie, at least the first part of it, called Origin Story, I think is a particularly powerful piece of music. So that was one of my goods, is that I really do enjoy the score in this film, and it hit a couple of times, got me a little bit emotional in ways that, particularly on this watch, that I just was not expecting. So, for me, I was...
No, I agree that I like the score of this movie. I just would have loved...
more kind of Unbreakable worked in.
I would have just really loved one composer to score the whole trilogy. That would have been nice, because we had one guy write the whole trilogy, we had one guy direct the whole trilogy. It would have been cool to have the same composer. But yeah, I do like the score in this movie. I certainly don't think music is a weakness in this film at all. No.
And I think the score's fine in Split, but I think it's so minimal by comparison because that is so much more of a thriller, and this is so much more of a superhero movie. 100%. And I feel like a superhero movie, you kind of do need a good, impactful score.
Absolutely.
So, what else you got for me for good stuff? What's next?
What's next? Just a couple of tidbits from the movie. And I will talk about how they sort of affect the overall movie there. But Joseph's recounting of his fake story that he tells the psychiatrist at the mental hospital to try and convince them to get his dad out. That is completely fucking harebrained and stupid.
Yeah.
And the confidence with which he says it and how proud of himself he is.
Yeah.
And how she's recanting it to him. It's it's that when Shyamalan gets humor right, he gets it so right, and he's got his own sort of flavor of humor that can be so good.
Yeah.
And I thought that moment was a beautiful example of Shyamalan's humor.
Yeah.
And love that scene. Yeah. I thought the actors in that scene sold it beautifully.
Yeah.
Obviously, Shyamalan's he's great at getting what he needs out of actors.
Yes.
So there's that too, right? But I thought this movie was funny in a lot of places when it wanted to be.
Yeah.
It made me laugh, and I thought most of the jokes landed, and I was happy about that in retrospect, because I haven't seen this since opening night when we saw it together accidentally. Yeah. So I was really happy about that, and I thought that was very funny.
Yeah. This, I would say, was my third watch.
Mm-hmm.
So I saw it the first time with you, and then when I bought Walmart did a release of all 3 films in a box set, and I was like, well, I have to fucking get that, like, because I think I had Split at the time, but I didn't have Unbreakable, and obviously I didn't have Glass, so I thought that was a perfectly good upgrade, and that watched at that time felt very much the same way on that second watch as I did on the first watch.
Okay.
A little bit different this time, as we will eventually get to, and we've kind of alluded to already. Pardon me, 2 seconds here, gang. My washer is beeping, like,
oh, no.
because its rotation is off. So I'm just going to turn that off because you guys might not hear it, but I'm going to hear it, and it's going to bother me. So
yeah, stuff like that drives Johnny crazy. So anyway, yeah, Johnny watched it 3 times. I did not do a second watch of this film after seeing it in theaters. Not on purpose, but just I had never gotten around to it until we decided to do this, which I thought was kind of interesting. I typically rewatch memorable movies, but yeah.
You don't talk about what drives me crazy. Nobody talks about what drives me crazy.
As you can see, he's very easy to push his buttons.
You son of a bitch!
Oh no! And I was never seen again.
I was gonna say right there. I just need to add in like the buzz, like the feed, like the TV screen cutting to. Yeah.
Technical difficulties. Please stand by.
I really like the Kevin and Casey relationship in this. Like, I actually thought that was one of the more tender moments. I mean, there is just obviously a hint of Stockholm syndrome going on to a degree, because
right.
she is even sympathetic to like Dennis and stuff like that.
And
so
the Horde and Patricia.
Yeah.
And
but her sympathizing and being caring towards specifically Kevin, who, you know, I think she sees him as just as much as a prisoner of the Horde,
a victim of the Horde,
as she was. So in that sense, they have this communal trauma, for lack of a better word. I don't know, man. They really have two scenes together, and both of them, particularly the latter one, I just got a little choked up at. I was like, this is actually kind of like low key a wonderful little love story, even if it's not necessarily
it's a romantic story.
That type of love. There's just this weird sort of kinship between the two that is very tender in a franchise that doesn't necessarily lack tenderness. It's just those moments are so few and far in between, I would say. So yeah, I don't know. I just really enjoyed the dynamic between James McAvoy and Anya Taylor-Joy specifically in this movie, because she gets a little bit more to do in terms of like her emotional beats, because you can tell that she's concerned and has complex feelings about the whole thing, whereas in Split it's just this very much survival instinct for the bulk of the film. So what else you got for me as far as good stuff?
I actually wanted to bounce off of that.
Go for it.
I couldn't agree with you more. I've mentioned it before on the podcast, but I will continue to say it. I'm a huge fan of Anya Taylor-Joy. Since she's blown up, I think it's gotten a little bit popular to say she's overrated. Bullshit. No, she's not. She's really great at her job. She's a very strong actor. She conveys emotion incredibly well.
Yes.
And she's really good. And in this movie, it's no exception. She's really good.
Yeah.
And McAvoy is, being a force of nature, and she's keeping up with him. And they have insane chemistry.
Yeah.
And I think those moments between her and Kevin are great. I think they're fantastic. Like, not something I saw coming in this movie.
Yeah.
I didn't see her being so sympathetic to Kevin or the Beast.
Yeah.
But once it happens, I'm like, this is brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
This is brilliant. Like, this is why Shyamalan and I'm me. It's because I wouldn't have thought, you know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't have thought of that, and it's so good.
Yeah.
And I really loved it. I couldn't agree with you more. I think you make a really strong point there. That's a really great part of this movie, and that, to me, is part of the movie that really holds up.
Yeah.
Is their relationship.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's them, it's, McAvoy by himself, it's their relationship, and then obviously Sam Jackson is just so fucking magnetic in this movie.
That's my next thing.
Yeah. It's obviously I think it's 30 to 45 minutes before we even see him, and it's an hour into the picture before he even says a goddamn word. Yep. But the movie's called Glass, so you know that our boy is pulling the strings even before we get to him, you know? And at the end of the day, it is like, this is his story, you know? Like, this chapter is his story. And him getting a chance to really find his place in the world. And I think he does an exceptional job, even though he's probably given less screen time than, most of our primary cast. So, do you have any thoughts that you want to add specifically?
I mean, without going into the bad, I love the way he's written here.
Yeah.
I love the way he's written. I love the way that he's the, mostly, there's things I don't like, but the way that he really plays the mastermind that is actually smarter than everybody and does fool everybody and does ultimately, in a way, beat everybody, is badass.
Yeah.
I think it's super well done. Because, like, in Unbreakable, we're kind of given the promise that he's this mastermind, but that's not really, like, it's not demonstrated. You know what I mean? We know it's there. We know he's smart. We know he's dangerous, but we don't know to what degree. We don't know how he's going to foil David or anyone else's plans. Like, we're not given that, because that's the next chapter, right? That's the chapter we didn't get, was it's like, okay, now that's the origin story. Now it's David versus, we've already talked about how we didn't like the caption at the end. Yeah. Because that movie's setting up the conflict between David and Mr. Glass, and I thought that was just paid off really well here.
Yeah, I agree. 100%. On that note, I have a line of dialogue here. He's actually got two really kick-ass lines of dialogue. The first one is that was used very prominently in the trailers, which is, that sounds like the bad guys teaming up. I think that is a great bit of dialogue, even if a little over the top, superhero-y. I think it's great. And the second being just probably, I just have to imagine when Shyamalan wrote this line of dialogue, he was just like, all right, I'm done for the night. It's not getting any better, which is first name Mr., last name Glass.
Yes.
Mwah, fucking good.
Chef's kiss.
So fucking good, dude. That is just the shit right there. I'm like, God damn it, that is a kick-ass, like, line of dialogue for a villain like that.
And you know what? Only so many people could have delivered it like Sam Jackson, bro.
Yeah.
Like, Jesus.
So perfect. God, every time
Sam Jackson.
Every time I was thinking about going back to this movie, I would just think about that line. I'm just like, all right, I'm getting pumped. I'm getting fucking pumped. And the last thing that I have is the actual showdown. I remember the first time I watched this, I was low-key disappointed. And in this one, because I understand that it is supposed to be a subversion of what our expectations of an actual showdown are meant to be. Like, I really do enjoy that final battle between David and the Beast, and everyone just kind of like standing around watching because like a lot of can't really do anything,
right?
You know,
yeah, you can't do anything to them.
Yeah, and
I'm not going and trying to throw a punch at the Beast. No thanks.
And the revelation that you know, that Kevin's father was on the train and everything.
Yes,
love that. To that end, the way that shot is constructed, where it pans from his dad and then goes down the roads, and you see the woman from the beginning of Unbreakable walking down at like she's out of focus, and then we pan over to the set of chairs, and you can see that cut happens right when we pan over and we go back to the old footage, you know, and we see David Dunn there, but it's just so well constructed. And the revelation for Kevin in that moment, or the Beast rather, in that moment, is just, you know, so great. And there is some really good action. I mean, I love the Beast, you know, fucking hopping.
Yes.
Looks so dope.
Yep. Totally.
And he does this maneuver a couple of times. He does it early on in the film when he's fighting David Dunn, where he kind of like does this, like he'll get kind of like pushed up against a wall, and then he'll push back, and then like kind of tap up the wall and kind of like bounce around. Like I love that little maneuver that he does. It just shows how agile he is. That he's like also this kind of this hulking thing, but is also just very, very you know. There's a fluidity to his movements.
Absolutely. I thought the all fours run kind of showed that too. Yeah. It was like, this guy's not stiff. He can do anything. Yeah. Totally.
How do you feel about that fight scene? If you have positive thoughts or.
I liked it. Yeah. I would have done some things differently. I always think that I have a skewed perspective because I have a background in martial arts and fighting. I always wish directors would just have someone on set who knows anything about actually fighting to just give them little tips and pointers. Mm-hmm. So like this is such a stupid nitpick, but like when the Beast has two hands against David Dunn's neck, David's trying to like hit him on the elbow to break the grip, and like maybe from your perspective or the audience's perspective, that's like good visual storytelling. But for me, I'm just like, why would you? Like, if a person's reaching out and holding your neck with two hands, why wouldn't you just punch their face? Yeah. Because, like, their hands are extended, so they can't protect their face. So you can literally just go, boom, 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 until they decide to let go of you. Like, that's a very, like, this is a very stupid thing to do.
Say, like, even, like, easier in terms of, like, they're holding your neck, and you just go to their rib cage because their hands are up here. Their rib
it's
cage
all open.
Everything's open. Exposed.
Okay, so like you see my point here. Everything's open to punch. You can punch their liver. You know what I mean? You can come over the top. You can come underneath. You can just kind of like twist your body away. So like it's so things like that. It doesn't hurt the movie for me, but I just think you could have easily improved it with just like one guy on set who could have been like, David would probably punch him from there. You know what I mean? He probably test his liver a couple times, throw an overhand, and the Beast would go, oh, I'm getting socked up. Maybe I should do something different. Yeah. Maybe that's a weird nitpick. No. I like the fight scene. Yeah. Yeah.
There's some great, just like, again, it's like the marriage of like music to visuals too that I really like in that scene. The music's really good. Some of the stuff that just looks cool. Mm-hmm. To me is you have the low shot of like David's feet as he's pushing up against like all the guards.
Like he's got like 5 cops and he's just like, nope.
Yeah, you see them pushing him, and then you see him kind of get his footing and then like push back. I'm like, that's pretty cool actually. Mm-hmm. You know, in terms of like this realistic like superhero, like I really like them going, all right, cool, we're not just gonna like fucking like, if this was like Captain America, that would just be like boom,
right? We're not gonna go way over the top. He's not the Incredible Hulk.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So in terms of just like that, just showing like what a human with just dialed up a couple of notches, like what they can actually do. Like, I don't know. I love that stuff. So, yeah. Well, I suppose if there's nothing else on your end for good stuff, do you have anything else?
I just have a brief point I want to make about good stuff.
Please.
This was something because my ultimate feelings coming from 5 years away from this movie were that I had mostly been disappointed in it.
Yes.
And as I was watching this movie, I had to keep thinking to myself, the actors in this movie are really good.
Mm-hmm.
The direction in this movie is really good.
Yeah.
And the dialogue in this movie is really good. And the writing in this movie is mostly really good.
Yeah.
Like, that's just true. Like, I still have a lot of qualms and I still have problems with the movie and I still understand all the disappointment. But, like, the composition of shots, like, from everything from the composition of shots and the angles to the way that the actors are performing, like, this is, you just use the word well-constructed. This is a super well-constructed movie. Yeah. The dialogue is sharp. The actors are great. The camera work's incredible. Like, there's a scene where the Beast is picking up a car, and we put the camera in the driver's seat of the car as he's picking up the other side of the car.
Yeah.
Like, just great stuff. And, like, there's a scene where David Dunn gets his poncho back, and he flips it like this, and it wavers like a cape in front of the camera, just, like, beautifully.
Love that shot so much.
And it's just... There's a lot to like about this movie.
I agree. I that was kind of one of the things that I wanted to end with, which is, like, I don't think either one of us, like, named every single good thing that we liked about this movie by any means. Mm-hmm. I also felt that there was so much more I liked about this movie on this viewing. Stuff that bothered me before. Certain things that bothered me before didn't bother me now. There's, as we'll get to, there's plenty of stuff that still bothers me about this movie.
Same.
But I was surprised by how positive, and I will say that without, again, jumping the gun too much, that I think I was definitely more middle ground, leaning towards disappointment on my first watch for sure, but like, it certainly wasn't like this, like, oh, what the... It wasn't like a Spider-Man 3 thing,
no,
you know?
It was not.
So, for what that's worth. But anyways, yeah. Lots to like in the good stuff for sure. But... we've teased it, we've talked about it, we might have even jumped the gun here and there, and the good stuff about it, we're rolling right on through the shit. Kalen, you had just talked about how good you think the dialogue is, and I think there's a lot of good dialogue in this, but as far as dialogue is concerned, in terms of this trilogy, I think this film... has some of the highest highs and the lowest lows. And I will... there's a couple of different things. First and foremost, when we talked about Split and even more so Unbreakable, like those opening bits of just dialogue that felt really natural, that suited the scene and explained a lot. There's some stuff in the beginning of this film that I felt was more more tell and not show. Specifically, like certain things with David and Joseph, there's certain lines of dialogue that I'm just like, what? Why are we saying stuff like this? Like, they're seen in their shop, their security shop or whatever, after David comes in. That whole bit of dialogue does not necessarily lend itself to naturalism to me. Like, there's a bit where Joseph says, yeah, like, they're looking for you pretty hard. Like, it's like one of those things where it's like, in terms of like catching the audience up, like maybe, yeah, but like it's also like, dude, if David really has been at this for like 20 years, like, he knows how to cover his tracks. He knows what he's doing. Like, and this will, certain aspects like this I will continue to harp on, particularly in terms of the David Dunn character, which I'll just say it right now, I think is the weakest. His storyline is unfortunately the weakest of this film. But yeah, like that little bit of that dialogue exchange between them in their security shop in the beginning feels a little forced and unnatural to me. Like, I don't necessarily know how I would change it, but I was just sitting there going like, they're by themselves. They're talking at the audience in that scene, you know, as opposed to having a natural conversation. That's what it felt like to me. And then, you know, the bit with Shyamalan also just like, hey, you used to work at the old stadium, didn't you?
See, you know, part of why I thought that worked is because it was after a joke that really worked for me.
Oh, when he's like, let him go for a walk.
He's like, let your dad go for a walk. Jeez, I think that made me chuckle.
Like that.
And so then we roll right into like, oh, positive thinking, and then I'm chuckling again, and I'm like, okay, like I kind of thought the scene worked in that way.
Yeah. That's fair. I mean, you know, to each their own. It's just like, I don't know if I was like fucking pissed off at Shyamalan's dumb haircut or what. I'm like, the guy in Unbreakable who's like this, you know, it's like somewhat scary looking drug dealer.
Kind of severe.
Yeah, I was like, it does not strike me as the same person whatsoever. Particularly when you take in his interactions with the psychologist in Split, you know, right. that whole dynamic. I'm like, this is not the same person.
Have you ever known a scary criminal in like their 20s and then known a scary criminal in their 40s?
I can't say I have.
Because I have.
I'm sure there's a change of attitude.
Sometimes they get good. A lot of them get over their life of crime for one, because getting old will do that to you.
Yeah,
and a lot of them turn into goofy, regular, middle-aged people. Just saying.
Hey, you know what? You're absolutely right, and I clearly do not know enough criminals.
Right.
Something I'm going to change starting tonight.
See, you guys can't see the neighborhood we're in, but Johnny's actually the worst criminal in this entire city.
I very much am. I like walk around and I'm like, I swear my neighbors are like this.
They're like,
fucking hoodlum. Yeah. Who did we let into our community?
That man can't possibly live here. He can't afford it.
Yeah, just judging by my attire. And I have one other, another early scene is with the principal calling Casey into the office to be like, hey, we just got the phone call from your foster parents.
Yeah.
They caught him. The one who kidnapped you. They caught the bastard. I'm like, ha! Like, I literally cringed when she said they caught the bastard. I'm like, no! What? Like, that would never happen that way. That would just, like, your foster family would be like,
would tell you,
hey, we
it's true.
Like, foster family would not call. If anything, they would be like, hey, we're gonna come
pick Casey up from school
early, you know.
Yeah, we gotta talk about some stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. And just like, they caught the bastard. I'm just like, who talks like that? Like, like, if you're trying to be consoling, that's not the language that you use. That's certainly not like what a trained professional who interacts with students like talks about. And it's just one of those weird things where I was like, this is again the opposite of the things that we've talked about that we liked from the previous films, where Shyamalan does really good dialogue and conveys things in a very natural and appropriate way.
100%.
But that scene in particular was like the greatest offender.
Mm-hmm.
But please do take it away and tell me some of your negative thoughts.
Well, I just want to really quickly echo your point there. I think you nailed that. Mm-hmm. I think that the greatest sin this movie commits, and there's a couple of them, but the greatest sin this movie commits is it diverges so far from the other two movies.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas they were both... Look, Unbreakable is a superhero movie in the form of a thriller, okay? Mm-hmm. And Split's a horror movie in the form of a thriller. But those movies are naturalistic, grounded, and really naturalistic and tight.
Yes.
and thrillers. And this movie is not naturalistic, it's not tight, and it's not really a thriller in that way.
Mm-mm.
He went into more of a pure superhero movie. And I think if he had sat down and watched Unbreakable and Split back to back and said, I'm going to make a movie that fits this, like clink, clink, clink. I'm going to make a chain here.
Yes.
I think if he had made that version of this movie, and I don't think he needed anyone else to accomplish this. I think Shyamalan has it in him to do it.
Yeah.
I think he would have made a movie that we all would have been satisfied with, that I think would have gotten better critical reception. I think would have gotten better fan reception. I think it would have, gotten Shyamalan a lot more clout, for lack of a better word, amongst fandoms. And it does severely disappoint me that he didn't just do that.
Yeah.
Like, make us another naturalistic thriller film, a tight naturalistic thriller film. And it will always burn me a little bit that he didn't just do that. Because instead he leaned very heavily into, this one's a superhero movie.
Yes.
And not to, like, skip over too much here, but, like, that kind of... well, actually, I want to let you bounce off of that.
No, I agree, because I think the best, description that you use is that this movie is not tight.
Mm-mm.
While I have said that there's a lot to like about this movie, even the stuff that I've kind of come around to that doesn't bother me as much as it did on the first viewing, like, we're spoiling things here, folks.
Yeah, we're spoiling the whole movie, so please pause and go watch if you haven't seen it. It's on Netflix.
The Secret Society thing, like, it does not bother me nearly as much. It just is so fucking out of left field. Like, in the last, 5 to 10 minutes of the movie, we find this out, and it's just like, we could have hinted at that a little bit more if that's where we were going with this, there is so much going on in this movie. Shyamalan said that the original cut of this was 3.5 hours. Cool, give me that fucking movie.
I want to see it.
Yeah, like that.
I want to see it.
I imagine that would play a hell of a lot better, because there's
you and me would be the only two people in the theater sitting down to watch that movie.
Absolutely.
Like, fuck yeah.
Fuck
no, same.
Because there are so many different characters, so many different things to pick up. Like, the fact that we have, our secondary, trifecta of Joseph, Elijah's mom, and Casey
yeah.
that are all there, that we have to contend with them. As much as I love the relationship between James McAvoy and Anya Taylor-Joy, I don't necessarily think it was something you needed to tell this continuation of this story, Can
I pop in with a very quick anecdote here? In the run-up to this movie, I was already a fan of Anya Taylor-Joy because of The Witch and Split. So I was already a fan of that young lady. I was watching her do an interview in the lead-up to the movie, and Shyamalan had called her to let her know that production was starting on the third film, and she thought it was just like a friendly catch-up phone call.
Yeah. And
she said, "Oh, cool, can I come visit the set?" And he said, No, you're in the movie. And she was like, "Oh, awesome." Very excited. But, the fact that she didn't think she'd be in the movie really speaks to your point, I think. The fact that Anya Taylor-Joy was shocked that she got cast in this film tells you a lot.
It's she's great in it, but her story was wrapped up as far as I was concerned. We get enough to know, she's gonna be all right. Even in that last little bit with the cop looking at her, when the cop says, we've contacted your uncle, he's on the way, and she looks at the cop, and the cop kind of looks at her.
What's going on, kid?
You know that it's gonna be okay. What we needed, now that you said it, I absolutely cannot get it out of my mind of, David talking to Elijah in a fucking cell, being like, how do I find this horde? Comic books.
Exactly.
This is a comic book scenario. What the fuck do I do? That would be fucking badass.
Yep.
That would have been fucking dope. And then, of course, not unlike Silence of the Lambs, fucking Hannibal Lecter escapes, and then he's got to contend with that, you know?
It's just too... sorry. I'm sorry. It's just too obvious. Like, it's right there. Like,
And I think, again, part of kind of what has grown on me about this movie is that it is so contrarian.
Yeah.
And so many, it subverts so many expectations of what, what anyone would have expected, So in those terms, like, I got to give him props because he just was like, flipped the fucking table and was like, fuck it, everything that anybody thinks is going to happen in this movie, not only is it not going to happen, not only is it going to either be the opposite, it's going to be so fucking... No one's ever going to think that this is what's going to happen, ever. So, in those terms, cool, but some stuff lands and a lot of stuff doesn't, you know?
I think the need to subvert expectations can be a weakness, though. Absolutely. I think it can be a great strength.
Yes.
I think it can be incredible strength. If you tell a story, and I don't know what's going to happen, that's neat. But, like... Sometimes the best story to tell, like sometimes the best thing to do with a script is a little bit conventional, and that's fine. You're allowed to do a little bit conventional.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think that Shyamalan was working too hard here to subvert expectations, and I think that hurts the movie.
I'm gonna let you get back to your bit because I know you got more to say. While this is like fresh in my mind, and like I said. Earlier, I think the Bruce Willis character, David Dunn, is the weakest aspect of this movie in terms of character. For a lot of reasons.
Uh-huh.
Not only is Bruce Willis slightly wooden, we know now that there's probably a reason behind that, unfortunately.
Yeah.
This is probably one of, like, I still think he gives like there's emotion behind it. I still believe this is David Dunn.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's just certain lines of dialogue that he has to say just don't feel natural, and whether or not that was necessarily like the script, him being unhealthy, having a hard time giving a naturalistic performance. There's like weird ADR stuff that like when he's throws the cops in the the shed or whatever, and he's just like, I'm just trying to help you. I'm like, why do we need that? We don't need that as audience members. Like, it's not necessary, No,
one of the things we like about Shyamalan is that he doesn't do that specific kind of thing.
Yes.
Like, he doesn't like pour water on the on the slow members of the audience. He will let you catch up.
Yeah. And even just like kind of going back to like dialogue stuff like between him and Joseph, there's a moment during the fight scene where like Joseph is talking to him over the microphone, and I'm like, you think he like really put the microphone back in his ear? Like possibly
he went to where his stuff was confiscated.
Yeah, so like I was like, yeah, there's a chance. And but, like, Joseph's like, yeah, there's, like, they got squad cars coming in right now or something like that. Joseph's not at a computer. Why would Joseph have that mic on him? He wasn't working on the impression that, like, that his dad would be getting his...
Mic'd up and
everything. Like, so it's a weird thing like that. Like, just little things like that stick out to me. All that said, my biggest problem with... the David Dunn character is that his storyline that he gets in this has already been told on Unbreakable. It's the self-doubt. He's been doing this for 20 years.
Right.
Like,
right.
I think that would have been an opportunity, and like I think there was an expectation of like, okay, he's been doing this a long time. How much stronger has he gotten?
Mm-hmm.
How much, like, he's clearly believed, like, what other abilities has he been able to,
uncover and
train and use? And it feels like he's gotten older, but he hasn't progressed at all. So it's like, and then with one fucking conversation, Dr. Ellie Staple was able to unravel everything that he's believed in the last 20 years. Very silly in those terms. I'm like, this is a 1 step forward, 2 steps back sort of thing. Like, it's unnecessary. This is not what this character should be going through. He deserves so much better. We should not be telling the same story that we spent an entire feature on, you know?
Couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
Couldn't agree more. I think there's a very slight explanation for where he's at with regards to Elijah Price saying, you've never had to live up to your potential because it only takes 1% of your ability to stop the kind of people you've been coming up against. Yeah. This is going to take your full potential. I thought that was kind of a cool line.
I like that too. I think that's actually a really great line.
Yeah.
Doesn't necessarily like...
No, it doesn't make it doesn't fix that aspect of the
movie. But I still like, I do think, odds are that he's... Just because Batman is not constantly fighting Bane doesn't mean that he's...
right, he's not improving and growing. And
exactly.
We don't see a more advanced Batman as the stories go on.
You know?
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. When we catch up with David, the people that he's beating up are like douchebag kids, for lack of a better word. It's not even anybody like holding up a liquor store or anything like that, you know? Like, it could have just been something simple as that.
I actually, I have thought that the whole time. I have always thought that the guys he was beating up in the beginning should have been more demonstrative. So here's the thing. I'm going to backtrack a little bit to your point about how he's been doing this for 20 years and how he was falsely led to believe he wasn't really a superhero when he was. David Dunn discovers that he is unbreakable, that he's the overseer around age 40, right? Maybe a little over 40. I don't know if we get the exact date, but he's right around 40.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So from age 40-ish to age 60-ish, he's been walking around Philadelphia fighting with his fists against the nastiest people he can come across on a nightly basis, and he's never even so much as been injured.
Yeah.
That alone would prove that you're a superhero.
Yes.
There is no 60-year-old man who could walk around Philadelphia for 1 month fighting the nastiest people on the block without getting hurt. Let alone spending 20 years walking around fighting big, strong, mean, PCP'd up. I have a gun, I have a knife, I have a crowbar. There are 10 of us. Like, we'll run you over. Like, all of the things that you would incur if you were going up. Think about what would happen if you were going up against the nastiest people in a major city on a nightly basis.
Dude, think about what would happen if you got into a fight with just some dude.
Right? Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Now think about what happened if you got into a fight with like 2 or 3 dudes.
Yes.
At a bar.
Yes.
Like, it could go very south, right?
Yes,
You certainly couldn't do it every day for 20 years without getting hurt. Nobody could in the whole world. I don't care if you're Brock Lesnar.
Think about like another, you know, quasi superhero movie, Kick-Ass. Think about like the very first time he ever tries to do anything,
dude,
he just gets obliterated. You know?
We're not talking about Kick-Ass, but that's one of the greatest scenes in cinema. When he swings the thing at the guy and the guy just sticks him.
Yeah.
And then he just falls down like, oh! That's one of the most real scenes ever. Like, that's what happens when you attack random criminals on the street. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, no, and even that, like, if you go back to the fucking original picture. This is why I'm like, I'm with you. Like, I'm convinced that Shyamalan didn't rewatch his own work. It's like, David realized he had never been sick one day in his life. He says it to Elijah. He's like, I've never been sick.
I've never been sick.
Yeah, like, he knows.
He remembers.
He knows in that moment.
He remembers ripping the car door off the car.
Yes.
And flinging it so that he can get to this girl he's on a date with to save her life.
Yes. Like,
in a car accident where he was thrown from the car and should have been killed, and he's not even hurt. Oh yeah, that's the other thing. He wakes up far away from the car. He was thrown from the car onto the pavement at high speeds.
Yeah.
That kills real people.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like, of course David Dunn's not a regular person.
Yes.
He's a superhero. This is an established fact.
And that's why it's like, no, I agree. That's why I'm like, God, Shyamalan, what the fuck, man? Like, you did David Dunn dirty. You know? I mean, everybody, like, I would say that both Elijah Price and Kevin Wendell Crumb get good stories in this.
Yes.
They do get what they deserve as far as their characters are concerned. And I don't even necessarily like the way David dies is like, I remember being like, what the fuck, a puddle of water? But I watched it this time and it was like, it's not just a puddle of water. It's that he was submerged, getting his ass beat by the horde, or the beast rather, underwater for, 60 seconds or more. And then just was like choking on water and then got fucking drowned by, some military dude. He didn't have a chance, man. He was already down for the count. It's like fucking Clark Kent being bathed in kryptonite and then being dunked in a puddle of kryptonite.
I cannot buy that explanation.
Okay.
Because David Dunn has to drink water and shower in water every single day. So if it was literally kryptonite, he'd be coming out of his showers all week and shit. He'd be drinking water in the morning going, ugh. I think the only logical interpretation of his weakness to water is that, like, David can't be shot the way you and I can be shot. He can't be stabbed the way we can be stabbed. He can't be run over the way we can be run over.
He can still choke on
water.
But
he can be drowned the way we can be drowned.
Got
so
it.
that it makes sense to me as a weakness that way. The idea that just, like, being in water will harm him, I don't buy that. It's kind of a dumb concept.
Got it. Yeah. No, you're right. I wasn't even thinking in terms of that. I was just thinking in terms of his weakness. So, yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And then, yeah, he does have that moment with Ellie where she's like, touch my hand, and he, like, touches her hand and everything, like, has a moment of, like, I'm alive. Like, in that moment, instead of touching her hand, he could have just
fought. Yeah, right. I'm sorry. That scene does not work for me. And also, like, David Dunn doesn't fucking deserve that ending. Like, that's not right. Like, we waited 19 years to get back to David Dunn.
Yeah.
We had the teaser at the end of Split, like, we're going to get back to David Dunn. And then we get back to David Dunn, and his story is getting drowned on the street by some random dickbag in Takatire. I hate it. And then his son runs over and pushes the guy. I'm sorry, but that just none of that works for me. Like, if you just saw a person drown your father to death,
yeah,
I'll tell you what I would do personally. And if this makes me sound crazy to the audience, I'm sorry. I would try to kill that guy.
Yeah.
And I don't care that his friends are there. I would try to kill him before they can pull me off. So I'd try to get him down on the ground and I'd try to stomp his head in. I would try to murder that man.
Yeah.
And he comes over and pushes him and then falls down crying. And I understand, like, he's upset that his father was killed, but, like, I think that you'd have a much more violent response to watching somebody murder your father.
Yeah.
It's just a weird scene to me.
I mean, it is. Everyone else, like, Elijah dies by the beast. The beast is shot because he's the legitimate threat. So, like, that whole thing with David being killed doesn't even seem in line with what the secret society is, like, even about, you know? It seems like such a, like, you're doing this right in the middle of the open. It seems like such a like, there's so many different variables.
I mean, and the left witness is alive.
Yes!
Like, Elijah Price's mom is alive. David Dunn's son is alive. Casey Cook is alive.
Yes!
And they all just walk away.
Yeah!
After witnessing these murders.
Yeah. I thought about that too. I was like, yeah, why aren't... And this is where it comes down to, where it's like, this is why this is not an airtight story like the other two.
No, it is not.
You're like, if I'm being pulled out of the story to think about this stuff, and you fucked up, you know?
Yep.
There's more. There's more. What else do you have for me?
This movie to me spends way too much time If you guys don't remember, in 2019, the Marvel Cinematic Universe was reaching its actual peak.
Yes.
That was the year Endgame came out. So, like, the MCU had been going like this since 2008. It had been going like that since 2012.
Yeah.
And this was the very peak. And I think this movie contends with that way too much. There's way too much acknowledgement that it's a superhero movie. There's way too much sort of extra meta flirting with it being a superhero movie not in the way that Unbreakable did it. Unbreakable did it like, oh shit, we are superheroes living in this world, and there's these comic books might be like a guide to what's going on.
On that note, really quick, I'll just jump in here. Every time multiple people go to fucking comic book shops in this movie, and every time one of them is in a comic book shop, I'm like, that's not what you would be doing in this scenario. Elijah Price, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely you would. His life was comic books. It makes sense.
Yes.
In Unbreakable, when he's lost and doesn't know what to do, he would go to the place that makes him feel better.
Yes.
Nobody else, any of these characters are thinking of this as a comic book scenario. Exactly. Only Elijah Price would.
That's Elijah's delusion.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So every time everybody else is in a comic book shop in this fucking movie, I'm like, that doesn't suit what this character is doing. Maybe the only exception, maybe Joseph.
Mm-hmm.
But even him, like,
I still don't think so.
No.
Yeah.
I feel like he would be doing so many other things to try and get his...
Right, like Casey goes to the comic book store.
Yeah, what? Why?
Why is Casey going to a comic book store?
Why?
The psychiatrist chick goes to a comic book store.
Yeah, like, what the fuck is she doing there? What the fuck is she doing there? She doesn't...
share in that delusion.
No.
That Elijah has that this is a comic book story. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the movie, like, the movie is super indulgent in that. They're all talking about limited edition. Like, this is a limited edition story. This is what happens in limited edition stories. And, like, not to, like, wonk out too much on comic books here, but, like, a limited edition is something that exists in the real world that's, like, this version of this comic book is a limited edition. They don't come out with, like, key important issues in a story and call it limited edition. Yeah. Like, in the most important issue of fucking X-Men or whatever, it's not called limited edition.
Yeah.
So, like, I'm not even, like, I'm sitting there as a comic book person watching this movie going, what the fuck are they talking about limited edition? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then at the end, he's like, it wasn't a limited edition, mama. It was an origin story. And, like, I actually like the line that it was an origin story. Like, I don't mind that they're playing with a little subversion there. But, like, what were we talking about with the limited edition the whole time? It sounds crazy, like crazy nonsense. Casey yells at the psychiatrist that the original Superman couldn't even fly, and Metropolis is really New York City. And she's like, comic books aren't valid history. This is a delusion. And I'm like, where did everyone get the idea that comic books were valid history? Like, where is this coming from?
Yeah.
And so they're playing that. They're turning that up so high, that whole, like, this is a comic book thing, and that doesn't work for me. And they're also playing into he's playing way too far off of the MCU, where I'm like, he shouldn't have even, like, he should have completely ignored the fact that superhero movies were proliferated during, you know, from Unbreakable to now, that they became the biggest thing in the world. He should have ignored that.
Yeah.
And just done what made him different and special to begin with.
Yeah.
Who gives a shit? Who cares? Nobody thinks this movie is going to be the Avengers. Nobody wants it to be the Avengers. We want it to be Unbreakable. We want it to be split. That's what we wanted from this movie. That's what makes you special and different. You know what I mean? And last thing I'll say on that, they literally call the big tower that Elijah's trying to make them go fight at a modern Marvel. All caps.
I saw that too.
It's a very clear, like...
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I just think they're acknowledging the existence of Marvel Studios in the real world, like, too much, and I don't love that.
Yeah. I think the last really big thing for me is the actual ending of this movie,
mm-hmm.
like Elijah's kind of like one up,
mm-hmm.
where, you know, Elijah dies, Kevin dies, David dies, Dr. Ellie Staple, a character that I don't particularly care for, if I'm being completely honest. I think Sarah Paulson plays her well, but like
good performance.
I'm just like, wait, this is a dumb, annoying character. Just like, what the fuck? Mm-hmm. And then we find out she's part of a secret society that makes a point to exterminate or contain people with extraordinary abilities, and she goes back to her little fucking cult dining room place and makes a point of like, hey, like I'm off to the next town. She essentially says, I'm off to the next town over, or whatever the fuck it is.
Kill the next superheroes.
And I'm like, that's a weird thing to say. And someone's like, we cut to like her talking to all the people that witnessed everything in the hospital, being like, well, we're just, the people were on drugs and they were, really hopped up on their Looney Tunes, and we're not gonna talk about this anymore out of respect for the patients. I'm like, yeah, because that's the way the world works. People just saw
we just stopped talking about incidents.
Get flipped over. We're definitely not going to talk.
There's a van outside that has fist imprints going into it.
You saw a dude get drowned in a fucking puddle by someone who's supposed to be
supposed to be a cop.
Them.
Why is he drowning that guy?
So
I'll never mention it again though. Don't worry. My boss said so.
Definitely we'll talk about it. Because this doctor that just came from out of town and apparently has like endless funds to set up hundreds of cameras, have these special rooms designed for water sources.
Dude, you know what another thing I was saying is like, if Bruce Willis weren't really a superhuman, no psychiatric institution in the entire world ever is going to attach that contraption to his room. That would never happen. If you're David and you're not an idiot, them doing that tells you that you are definitely superpowered and they're afraid of you, because they would never put a giant water tank and a flood system in a room in a hospital to drown a patient because he thinks he's a superhero. That makes no fucking sense whatsoever.
Damn straight.
Christ.
And all that said, we cut back to Ellie and she's in her cult room, and then one of the cult people is like, hey, is there going to be any blowback from this? And she's like, no, I deleted all the camera footage. And then she goes to the comic book shop for some godforsaken reason. And then two dudes that are having a completely normal conversation. No, that's why he's the smartest guy. He always has a different plan. He makes you look over here, but it's really what's going on over here. That's the thing. And then she has a revelation that maybe, just maybe, Elijah Price might have had an ace up his sleeve. And she goes back, finds out that, yes, while all the footage was deleted, there was a thing that sent the footage to an external server. And then we find out that Elijah sent the footage to his mom, Casey, and Joseph.
Mm-hmm.
Somehow he had all their email accounts. It's fine.
That's right.
The girl that he had not met before he was outside with her.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
He knew her email address. It's fine. And then they decide to release the footage to the press and online to let the world know that there are indeed superheroes, and Ellie Staple is none too pleased. My main problem with this is that in this day and age, I like watch the footage. I was like, particularly now, this just would not apply when it comes to artificial intelligence, because you could just make up whatever the fuck you want, man. Even before that, you could have just...
No, you could have faked all that.
You could have faked all of it.
All of that. Yeah.
All of that.
Nobody would be convinced that means that they're superheroes.
Absolutely.
Not a soul. Not even me.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we have literal footage of, like, UFOs, and I'm still like, well, I know there's aliens, but that doesn't necessarily
mean they're here, you know?
So,
yeah.
I'm not buying it until, fucking New York City is getting that fucking giant sky beam.
we have the military, like, we're having very concerning interactions with UFOs that seem like they're not from this world. We're like, shut up.
Yeah, not worried about it. I got bigger fish to fry.
Exactly.
You tell me, like, dude, I've seen Chris Angel lift a fucking car.
That's right.
I'm
hey,
like,
you know what?
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Like, yeah, dude, like, none of the stuff that is shown, that's the thing. That is where, like, having this realistic approach to how these people would go about it, it seems pretty great in the moment, but when you take a step back and view it from, like, a cell phone perspective, you're like, oh yeah, that's mundane. It's not like they're flying in the sky or anything, so... Yeah,
if they were, we'd think that was fake too, unless we saw it with our own eyes.
Yes.
Even then, we doubt it.
Yes.
If you saw Superman flying through a building fighting Zod, you'd be like, somebody drugged me.
Yeah.
Or that's an illusion. Like, you wouldn't just be like, aliens are really fighting in the sky. You just wouldn't. Like,
our brains just do not accept that.
Exactly.
So that is that for me is probably the aside from the David Dunn storyline, is like the weakest part of this film, because everything hinges on the fact that Elijah does indeed win, but does he? Because like it makes it seem like he does by the reactions to the people in the train station, but you and I, like, we don't buy that, not for a second.
No.
So
yeah. Well, with regards to Elijah, super, super small, quick segue. Remember when he tells the beast that, hey, David's weak to water, there's water right over there. Don't kill him in the water. I don't buy that line for one moment.
Yeah.
Elijah didn't even want David to lose.
Yeah.
Elijah wouldn't want David to lose.
No.
Elijah still thinks of David as his friend.
Yeah.
And he wants David to win because good guys win in the comics.
Yes.
Like, he didn't want the beast to go drown David.
No.
That doesn't make any fucking sense. He wanted them to go fight on the thing, but he's like, oh, you can go drown him right over there. That's his weakness. You can drown him. Go do it.
Yeah.
What? Okay. And then on that note, like, if Elijah's so much smarter than everybody, why didn't he save them? Why didn't he get the three of them out of there and save them from that cult?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that, like, I feel like Elijah would have had an ace up his sleeve ahead of time and would have had them out of there and somewhere else and over at his tower for his big fight where the cult couldn't do anything without being right in front of the world. And he would have known that. He would have waved his dick in their face like, haha, you guys can't do anything.
Yeah.
So it just doesn't make any sense. And here's the thing too, man. Like what you said about no one would believe it based on that footage, 100%, totally true. The idea that like everyone would just like the paradigm in the whole world would just change because of this footage is nonsense.
Yeah.
But then there's also no actual fucking payoff to that.
Yeah.
There's no payoff. It doesn't go anywhere. Nothing happens at the end. We just see people going, and they're sitting there holding coffees.
Yeah.
And that's the end of the movie. And it's like, that's not an ending. And the other thing too is like he's sitting there saying this was an origin story all along. An origin story for what? He's literally sitting there saying he doesn't want to follow it up. That ending screams, I am following this up.
Yeah.
Like there's a reason I ended it this way. There's a bigger story to tell here.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying necessarily that I need that or not, but I'm a little irritated hearing Shyamalan say I have no interest in building a cinematic universe. I don't need you to build a cinematic universe, but like that story felt like it was leading to something.
Yeah.
If that's just the ending, that's kind of a stupid ending.
Yeah.
Like it's just kind of dumb.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Couple other things. Maybe I'm just stupid, but Elijah's supposed to go through with an operation, right? Like, Ellie catches him, and she's like, all right, cool, I bumped up your operation. He somehow takes out a piece of
the equipment so that it doesn't actually do its job.
Okay, so what exactly is this thing that was going to be done to him? Do you know exactly what?
No, that's another part of the movie that's dumb and doesn't make any sense.
Because I'm looking at it and I'm like, I feel like there's we can go down just a whole fucking rabbit hole of like the fact that this place with these incredibly, what we are considering dangerous individuals, particularly from Dr. Staples' perspective. Mm-hmm. She knows that they are actually for real.
Right.
And we only have one fucking attendant on the floor.
They have these dumb guards who are worthless walking into the room with Kevin Wendell Crumb, David Dunn, and Elijah Price.
Yes.
Get out of here.
Yes.
You're begging to be cooked.
Yeah, I'm like, what?
These guys are dumb nobodies. And they're just like, walking in there with one. I mean, the Beast literally almost, like, I was telling Sandy we were watching the movie because the Beast starts to get a hold of the guy and then the thing barely gets off enough to change him. And I was like, dude, if the Beast got past the lights and got the guy's key card, everyone in that hospital is dead.
Yeah.
And there's nothing they could do about it.
Yes.
Nothing. Like, he would, because Casey's not there to turn him back into Kevin.
Yeah.
The Beast would literally just kill anyone he wants and leave.
Yeah.
There'd be nothing anyone could do.
Yeah. There's no, so the fact that this at nighttime is just like one dude on.
Yep.
Like in this whole area.
One idiot.
What the fuck?
Yep.
That's obscene.
Mm-hmm.
And two, I don't know much about medical stuff, but something tells me that if you are at a prestigious place of medicine and place where you are supposed to be taking care of people's minds, and if there is indeed an operation going on, that maybe you just might have an idea when equipment is malfunctioning and the operation is not fucking successful. Like, I don't know what that machine was supposed to do to him. I have zero fucking idea. But I'm sorry, you took out this little piece and apparently you got away with not having your brain lobotomized. Like, huh?
So, okay, I love everything you said there, and I want to reply to you. So, not a doctor, but as far as I know, there is no kind of laser lobotomy that exists in real life. Like, that procedure doesn't exist. Also, in 2019, you would never, ever, 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 under any circumstances, be able to lobotomize a patient against their will, ever. I don't care how crazy they are. It would not be allowed.
Yeah.
Doing anything to the frontal lobe of a patient's brain without their consent is something that would have happened.
Or without their fucking family's consent.
That would have happened in 1819, not 2019. It's not something that would ever happen. Period. Not at all.
Yeah.
Period. So that part alone had me like, you can't just perform procedures on people's brains because you think it might help them when they're saying, no, you can't touch my brain, fuck you. You can't do that. This is America. That's not something you can do.
Yeah.
So, you mentioned that somebody might have checked the machine. I hate to admit that I think that that's something that probably could have been overlooked. I think that they probably don't do as thorough inspections on all of their equipment every single day as you might want to hope that they do. But they would have probably, in this fictional world where you have this laser that lobotomizes people, they probably would have figured out that it wasn't working somehow.
Yes, that's all I'm saying is like, I don't know what this machine does. I have no idea, but I feel like you would know that whether the machine was working or not, like you could look at the patient and be like, yeah, the thing didn't...
Nothing happened.
It didn't do the...
Or like they would have done like an MRI.
Yeah.
And looked at his brain and been like, oh, it didn't work. Can someone check the machine?
I feel like there are a number of procedures. Then again, this is run by two dickwads apparently.
It's two very
and a woman that was just brought in 2 days before
to install a hydraulic system to drown people in their rooms. No one would question that.
Yes!
None of the nurses would be like, hey, why are we going to flood that guy's room and drown him? That's kind of weird.
I'm
calling somebody.
To that end, how does Elijah actually get out of his room? Because as far as I can tell, he never steals a key card or anything like that. It's never revealed to us how he actually gets out of his room.
It's not.
And why are his teeth all black at the end? Did I miss something about that? Maybe that was something that was deleted, but when he's like smiling at the end and he's dying, like he has like black stuff all in his teeth, and it's always bothered me because I'm like, I don't know if that's something that we missed because I'm pretty sure that's not Sam Jackson's actual teeth. I don't know why they would look like that. Anyways, next time you watch it, it'll bother you too.
I know what you're talking about, and I don't have an explanation. Yeah.
So, anyways, This is like... I know I said it wasn't like Spider-Man 3, but it is kind of like Spider-Man 3, where you're like, God, what a mess. Like, lots of stuff to like, but like...
But what a mess.
What a mess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's kind of like when you have like a puzzle like halfway done and you just like have like certain pieces just all pushed to the side and you're like, come here, I want you to see how good I'm doing.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, that's great. Why don't you show me when it's
actually all finish the damn puzzle?
No, it's done.
I feel like that's a conversation you've had with somebody.
I'll never forget. It was I was homeschooled for a number of years, and I was working on something. I don't remember what it was, but I just kept on telling my mom, like, come here, like, I want you to see how good I've done up to this part. And I kept on calling her over, and it got to the point where she's like, I don't want to see it until it's done. Like, don't show it to me until it's done. And you can bet your ass that gave your boy a complex.
Yeah. I'm
getting that. Oh, shit. Any other random thoughts? Any other bad stuff? Any other good stuff that you might have forgotten before we
I mean, I'm sure there's more bad stuff and more good stuff, but I mean, I think we covered the important things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so as well. All right. Well, without any further ado, we are jumping on over to our next section, Truly Terrifying Tidbits. So, here at Truly Terrifying Tidbits, we just talk about if there's anything in this film that we can categorize as horror or horror adjacent, being as this is a horror podcast. So, I feel like this is going to be a fairly short section. But, Kalen, is there any horror that you can find in Glass?
You know, it's interesting because, like, Split's a full-blown horror movie.
Yes.
And Unbreakable's horror adjacent.
Yeah.
This movie's kind of not.
Yeah.
It's kind of not.
Yeah.
It kind of removes the horror element in a big way. I can think of a couple scenes, but they're not super horror-esque.
No, there's the one where the beast is, like, eating a dude's face or something like that. I think
that's the horror scene in the movie.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's pretty much it. And
Samuel L. Jackson slices a guard's throat with a piece of glass.
Yeah.
And the guy goes like this and backs up and, like, doesn't bleed.
Yeah, I mean, you see the aftermath later when Dr. Staples, like, standing in there.
You see him laying there going like this, like, not bleeding. Like, it's very, very tame.
Yeah. I agree. There's not really much of anything. Even, you know, I've always thought, you know, in Unbreakable that David's flashbacks just have an air of, or not his flashbacks, but, like, his visions that he sees, they have an air of just creepiness to them.
Oh yeah.
The way they're shot and everything. I mean, I still think that rings true in this one. We don't get it too much, but the little bit that we do, even that weird dining room scene where, you know, we kind of...
Two people leave and everyone else is like...
Kind of just comes across, like, and yeah, everything comes quiet and they all kind of just, like, look at each other. There is, like, a weird, like, creepy vibe about that. So, yeah, man, this really is just, like, they went full-blown comic book with it. It is a very, as you said, they did not do the thriller route.
Not just comic book. Superhero.
Yeah.
Because there are thriller and horror comic books
you are not
that
wrong.
are fantastic.
Yes.
They just went like, no, this is just going to be like a superhero story.
Yeah.
Which, I know we already tried this ground, but which to me felt like a little bit of a betrayal of the previous films.
Yeah. Well, in that case, then we are going to go ahead and move right on into the rewatch. So here at the rewatch, we discuss the film's rewatch value and how we can get people hooked to watching this movie, and basically just kind of some of the scenes that we we enjoy that have rewatch value overall. Kalen, if you had to pick one scene to try and get someone hooked to watch this movie, we call it our YouTube scene. If you were to show them a quick clip of the film to really get them hooked, what scene do you think you would show them?
Probably Crumb in his room trying to get past the flashies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a pretty great scene.
Mm-hmm.
There's just so much going on there.
Mm-hmm. Chaotic and McAvoy's just being amazing.
Yeah.
Shifting from, I mean, we talked about it. It's like he's shifting and shifting and shifting from character to character and character to character, and he's doing it with just such precision that it's awesome to watch. And I think that would be a really good way to intrigue somebody. It's like, oh, what's going on in this movie?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I kind of like it's fairly early on, but like I think I would probably show them the fight scene and the inevitable capture of David and Kevin, because that I feel like the way that scene leaves off, there was a lot of intrigue. Like if you know nothing about really, I think this would probably be more of a pitch for the series, but like if you know nothing about the series and you see these two dudes going at it, and then they fall down, and then there's all these cops and everything, and Dr. Stable's like, yeah, you can leave, but you gotta hurt a lot of people in the process. You're like, what's going on?
A bunch of cops? Yeah, you're like, what? That guy's gonna hurt a bunch of cops? Like,
and then you have Barry come out into the light and be like, oh no, wait, no, I don't want any of this sort of a deal. Yeah. You're like, what is going on? This movie is a trip. So yeah, I think that would probably be my push. Do you have a favorite scene in this film?
Yeah, it's when Kevin is dying.
Yeah, dude, I got choked up. I was literally choked up.
Yeah.
At that scene.
Yeah, that hurt. Watching it this time really did hurt, but it's a really good scene.
Yeah, it's just beautifully acted by both of them.
Yep. Couple of heavyweights.
Yeah, I was gonna say Anya Taylor-Joy, just insanely believable, and watching not like one person, but like 4 or 5 people die all at once from James McAvoy's perspective is really kind of incredible. So yeah.
And she switches to Hedwig, and
yeah,
he's like, it hurts, make it stop hurting, Casey. And
yeah,
it's really good.
Yeah.
Yep.
I really like when I think about this movie, and this kind of goes back to what I was talking about, the score. I always hear the music in my mind, and this marriage of music and pictures. It's when David is breaking out.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
And he goes and he finds his that you talked about, that shot specifically. I think about that shot. That shot is what I think about when I think about this movie. I think of him opening that fucking cloak. Yeah. And there's just a moment I'm just like, God, yeah, that's
it.
What
flutters just like Superman's cape. It's
and I'm like, that's what I wanted this entire movie to be. Was David being, unbreakable.
Yeah, that's better.
Yeah,
being unbreakable.
So, I love that scene. And what? I mean, this is your second time watching it, so maybe it's not super high. But out of on a scale of 1 to 10, what would you rate the rewatch value of this film?
Maybe like a 6, 5, 6. It's tough because I haven't watched it since it first came out.
Yeah.
But upon this watch, I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna keep watching this movie.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I'll tell you the honest truth. I thought to myself at the end of Split that maybe from now on I was just gonna watch Unbreakable and Split as a duology with an open end.
Yeah.
because, man, that's a great duology.
Yeah.
An open end. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I thought, maybe I'll just leave Glass out. And I'll pretend that I never had that disappointment and that just, I can just imagine a story that happens. And now, watching it again, I'm like, yeah, you know what? But I do like this movie.
Yeah.
And I am gonna, when I finish Unbreakable, when I finish Split, I am gonna throw on Glass now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I can't give it a sub 5 rewatch value when I'm planning to rewatch it in the future. You know what I mean?
Yeah. See, I think in those terms, if we're just talking strictly like, I like throwing on this movie and I like rounding out, I'm a completist, so
right.
I'm happy to follow Split Up with this. Great thing is that you can just watch Unbreakable because it's the first one, So if you don't watch anymore,
that's right.
Like, you can just go always, beautiful right there.
That always works as a standalone movie.
But if you're gonna do the whole thing, I'm gonna rewatch this. So in terms of like, I'll rewatch this as often as I decide to revisit this storyline. In those terms, I'd probably give it an 8 out of 10 because I do feel like there's enough going on in this movie, because there's a lot going on in this movie that even taking the bad with the good, there's a lot of good stuff that I like and I enjoy, to the point where I'm like, I don't mind watching this movie and I don't mind rewatching it frequently. So in those terms, it's the rewatch value, I think, is there for me for sure. So I wager if you're we'll say you're at like a 5.5.
Sure.
And I'm at an 8, then we meet somewhere around like a 6.8 or something like that, give or take. Yeah. I'm not a mathematician.
He's an athlete, guys, not an athlete.
Darn tootin'. All right. Well, without any further ado, we are going to hop on over to the Jony Horror Score. Yeah, so we are just going to talk briefly about the legacy of this picture, or, if legacy is too strong a word, maybe we can just talk about the release of the film and how it was received. Kalen, would you do the honors of reading the release portion of this?
You got it, buddy. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, I'm dyslexic, so sometimes I fumble. All right. On, release. Marketing. On April 25th, 2018, the film was featured at CinemaCon with Shyamalan in attendance. He presented footage from the film along with the first official image featuring Willis, Jackson, and McAvoy in character. He also expressed his intention for the film, saying, "The worlds of Unbreakable and Split finally collide in Glass. What if these real-life superheroes and supervillains are somehow locked up together? What could go wrong?" Despite being preceded by hyper-realistic films about superheroes and villains, such as The Dark Knight, Shyamalan personally considered Glass to be the first truly grounded comic book movie. That's an interesting take, Em. Considering you made Unbreakable. On July 12th, the first official photographs from production were released publicly, including shots of Samuel L. Jackson, Sarah Paulson, and James McAvoy. A week later, the film was promoted at San Diego Comic-Con with Shyamalan, Willis, Jackson, Taylor-Joy, and Paulson attending a panel where the film's first trailer premiered. The studio spent a total of $80 million promoting the film. Theatrical. The first screening of Glass occurred on January 12th, 2019 at 25 Alamo Drafthouse cinema locations, where it played during a triple feature event that included and was preceded by Unbreakable and Split. It was theatrically released January 18th in the United States and Canada by Universal Pictures, and in international territories by Walt Disney Studios Motion Pictures through their subdivision Buena Vista International. And home release, the film released by Universal Pictures Home Entertainment in the U.S. and Walt Disney Studios Home Entertainment through Buena Vista Home Entertainment internationally on digital April 2nd, 2019, and on DVD, Blu-ray, and Ultra HD Blu-ray on April 16th. Do you want me to get into reception?
Hey, if you feel like it, go for it, pal.
Okie dokie. Glass grossed $111 million in the United States and Canada and $135.9 million in other territories for a worldwide total gross of $247 million against a production budget of $20 million. Massively profitable film.
Yes.
Deadline Hollywood calculated that the film made a net profit of $68 million when factoring together all expenses and revenues. I think they probably undershot that, but okay.
Still,
$68 million on
throw that my way
on a $20 million gamble too. Yeah. So they made a lot of money. In the United States and Canada, the film was projected to make 50 to 75 million from This is all about money. American Sniper, right along. We don't really care too much about what it's up against. Okay, so it made a lot of money. Critical response. On review aggregator Rotten Tomatoes, the film holds an approval rating of 36% based on 404 reviews.
Jesus. With
an average rating of 5.2 out of 10. The website's critical consensus reads, Glass displays a few glimmers of M. Night Shyamalan at his twisty world-building best, but ultimately disappoints as a conclusion to the writer-director's long gestating trilogy. I hate that he is always defined in the general media by twists. Like, shut up about the twists and focus on the movies. On Metacritic, the film has a weighted average score of 43 out of 100 based on 53 critics, indicating mixed or average reviews. Audiences polled by CinemaScore gave the film an average grade of B on the A+ to F scale, down from Split's B+, but up from Unbreakable C. Jesus Christ. While those at PostTrack gave the film gave it an overall positive score of 70% and a definite recommend of 49%. David Ilrich of IndieWire gave the film a C- and called it the biggest disappointment of Shyamalan's career. The trouble with Glass isn't that its creator sees his own reflection at every turn, or that he goes so far out of his way to contort the film into a clear parable for the many stages of his turbulent career. The trouble with Glass is that its mildly intriguing metatextual narrative is so much richer and more compelling than the asinine story that Shyamalan tells on the surface. Can we just pause for a moment and all enjoy what a ridiculous thing to say that was?
Yeah, film critics are just...
Every time we read one of these, some famous film critic who's making way more money than us to write about movies says something very dumb. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Like a parable for his own career? Like, what the hell are you talking about, man? Mm-hmm. Sorry, it's pretend. Anyway... writing for Rolling Stone, David Fear gave the film 3 out of 5 stars. Glass is not the flaming flop some folks have already suggested it is, nor is it the movie you want in terms of tying ambitious, highfalutin notions together about how we process our pulp mythos. In a world in which all movies are now either genocide or ice cream, it's a grand gesture characterized by a sense of ambivalence about what you've just seen, which may in and of itself be a sign of failure. Owen Gleiberman of Variety wrote, It's good to see Shyamalan back to a degree in form, to the extent that he's recovered his basic mojo as a yarn spinner. But Glass occupies us without haunting us. It's more busy than it is stirring or exciting. Maybe that's because revisiting this material feels a touch opportunistic, and maybe it's because the deluge of comic book movies that now threatens to engulf us on a daily basis has leached what's left out of the mystery of comics. Richard Roper of the Chicago Sun-Times said the film had a distinctive look and some pretty cool moments and a halfway decent twist or two, but that it was mostly an underwhelming, half-baked, slightly sour, and even off-putting finale. John DeFore of The Hollywood Reporter thought it was a mixed bag as a trilogy closer, saying it does a good job of tying the narrative strands together, but that it tries too hard and fails to provide something uniquely brainy to the superhero genre. Joshua Rivers of GQ magazine stated, the timeline is barely comprehensible, with twists so openly telegraphed they'd have saved the Titanic.
What the fuck does that even mean?
It means he really wants us to think he's smart, and he's not. David Simmons of The Atlantic compared the film to Batman Returns from 1992 or The Incredibles 2 from 2018. I appreciate the sheer brashness of Shyamalan's storytelling, which swirls the myth-making inherent in characters such as David with the emotional scars borne by orphan characters such as Superman. The cast were praised, in particular McAvoy, who once again was top-notch and lit up the screen with his eerie physicality every time he appears. Later, Shyamalan admitted that he cried at the negative reviews for Glass. Honestly, I was feeling like, will they never let me be different without throwing me on the garbage pile? The feeling of worthlessness rushed me, and to be honest, it doesn't ever really leave. But anyway, the film went on, right? It became #1 in every country in the world, and it represents my beliefs.
Cool.
Yep.
Any thoughts on what everyone had to say there? I think generally speaking, as pretentious as a lot of those reviewers come across, I think at the end of the day, we're all getting down to the same baseline of like,
yeah,
there's some shining light, but at the end of the day, it is a mixed bag of muddled storytelling.
A mixed result from an obviously talented filmmaker.
Yes. So yeah, that kind of does it as far as, how the film was received at the time. Kalen, before giving your final thoughts, tell me about how you felt about this movie when it ended the first time you saw it.
I was very shocked at the ending. Like, killing Elijah and Kevin and David felt insane to me.
Mm-hmm.
And doing it for that ending, like for the twist that we got, felt insane.
Yeah.
Like, that felt absurd to me. Like, what the hell are you doing? It was just not strong enough or intriguing enough or interesting enough. It wasn't shocking or surprising. Not that that's what I'm after, but it wasn't that either. It just felt like such a nothing ending.
Yeah.
And I have a weird memory, so sometimes I'll recall very ancient text messages we had. But I remember we talked about it, we chatted about it briefly in the theater after the movie. And I told you it wasn't what I expected. And I think you told me something along the lines of, this is not the quote, but you said something along the lines of you needed to kind of sit on it, think about it. And then you texted me a couple days later asking me how I felt, or maybe it was a couple weeks, I don't know. It was a little while later, you texted me like, how are you thinking about the movie now? And I said something along the lines of like, ultimately I was pretty disappointed. And you texted me, like something like, well, I think I like it. And I was like, I like it, but like I wanted a lot more from that ending.
Yeah.
And that's, I still like, that was my strongest feeling walking out of the theater, was like that ending just didn't live up to, a movie that was 19 years in the making and the sequel to my favorite movie ever made. You know what I mean? Like it didn't quite get there. And so it was definitely hard in that moment to sort of just brush off that level of disappointment.
I felt the same. Like, like in terms of just like, I watched it and I was like, there was so much I liked about it, but like that ending, I was just like, I was waiting when like the camera's like pulling back in the train station. I'm like, there's got to be something else, right? This can't be it. And then
that can't be the end.
It goes and it ends, and I'm like, we're getting like a post-credit scene.
Right.
Like, what's going on? This is there.
That's
has
the
to
end
be
of a
more.
trilogy. Yeah.
There has to be more, right?
Yeah.
And I just kind of like looked at you, and you were just like,
yeah.
And I was like, yeah, that's kind of how I'm feeling too. I'm not really sure. I mean, to be fair, like, I knew going in that the reviews were not...
I did too.
Great, so, you kind of prepare yourself in those terms.
Certainly.
But yeah, 'cause it was a very complicated, like, there was some really interesting and good stuff going on there. But yeah, now that we're here... Upon your second viewing, What are your final thoughts and your rankings for Glass?
I think that as you get older, you do a better job of viewing the world as complicated.
Yeah.
And you can view things with more nuance. And I think I view this film with more nuance because was it ultimately a disappointment for what it was at the time? 100%.
Yeah.
Was it the best movie Shyamalan could have made given the circumstances and given the series he was making? No way. And am I still dumbfounded and frustrated by several decisions he made? Yeah, majorly. I'll always view this movie as a missed opportunity.
Yeah.
Because he could have hit a grand slam right here.
Yeah.
And I was rooting so hard for him to hit a grand slam right here because I knew who he was. I knew that Shyamalan was a guy who was incredibly talented. I still believe Shyamalan's incredibly talented. But I knew he was a guy who didn't always hit the way he wanted to.
Yeah.
And was capable of missing a little bit, and he's capable of missing a lot.
Yeah.
And here, I do feel like it's more of he missed a little bit, but it's just a lot more than we wanted.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So ultimately, to put it simply, massive disappointment. Ultimately, I still like the movie.
Yeah.
Because there's so much good stuff in here. It's clearly written and directed by a guy who's great at writing and directing.
Yes.
Who just didn't do the best work of his life this time. And like I say this kind of often, but like I think it's worth noting. Spielberg has turned in some less than great movies. You know what I mean? We're all human.
Absolutely.
We don't all do our best work every single time. So I do think the remnants of the talent that Shyamalan is shine through this movie.
Yeah.
Like I think you still get that this is a guy that's massively good at this. This isn't the best thing he ever did. It's like, it's like watching LeBron play a bad game. You know what I mean? Yeah, you can still tell he's pretty good at this stuff.
Yeah.
So that's ultimately how I feel about the movie.
And your ranking out of 10?
6.5. But I should note that I expected not like it. And instead I watched the movie and I came away like, yeah, I still like that movie ultimately.
You could, like, going into this second viewing, could you kind of give me an idea of like what your ranking was just based off of like your memory going in?
I was imagining more like a 5 out of 10.
Got it.
And I got more like a 6.5.
Yeah.
Maybe even if I'm being honest and I'm comparing it to like some of the bad movies, like maybe even closer to a 7. Just because there were so many things in this that are so much better than average.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I very much felt the same way. Like when I put on this movie this morning. I was hungover, and
that's my boy.
There was just like a moment of like begrudging because I'd actually been really looking forward to revisiting this, and just some of the circumstances like I gotta watch this fucking movie today. God damn it! And then some of the earlier scenes with like some of the dialogue that made me kind of like roll my eyes and stuff like that, as I already talked about. I was like, this is gonna be a fucking chore. And I took a break and lived my day and did stuff and kind of came back to it later in the evening, sat down, powered through it, and there was a point when I was like on my phone, like trying to read up stuff, just trying to get a little bit of backstory whilst like watching the movie. And IMDb has this thing where it like pulls it up and is like, if you're like reading about the movie, it assumes you've watched the movie, so it'll pull it and be like, what do you rate this movie? And in my head at the time, I hadn't even finished the movie. I was like, I want there to be a 5.5 button because that's what I want to give it right now. And by the end of the movie, like I was very much in the same ballpark as you. Like I was like, I've always kind of been liked this movie more than I disliked this movie, but yes, it is a disappointment, and there's some blunders.
There's some stuff that doesn't work.
Yes.
Just flat out.
And now that we take into context that this film was written in X amount of time, it's like, well, maybe we could have taken a little bit more time to work out some stuff, flesh some stuff out, think about some stuff. But at the end of the day, like, I think I try and think of it in terms of this, like, this is the movie he wanted to make. At the end of the day, this is his trilogy. Like, this is his story, and it's, been 100%. His story from start to finish. So, in those terms, I can't be like, why did you take away my movie from me? It's not mine, it's his.
100%.
So
100,000%, man.
So, and the way, like, you very much, like, the way you described it as he missed a little bit, it was just too much for us. That little bit.
It was so much more than we wanted.
Yes.
Yeah.
And yeah, absolutely, like, Shyamalan is like a 50-50 director. Like, he has some of the highest highs and the lowest lows, and has a fairly good middle ground of stuff too, that there's lots of stuff I liked, and also lots of stuff that doesn't work. And at the end of the day, even when he's not good, he's still better than a lot of other people, So
I would say when he's not good, he's still better than the overwhelming majority of other people.
Yeah, he is incredibly talented, and
this movie is better than the average Hollywood movie.
Yes,
it is. Like, that's a thing. It's like people talk about it like it's a total piece of shit, but like, this is not a bad movie by any real standard. Like, this is not what a bad film is. It's just not.
No, and I mean, put it up against any of the Marvel movies that have come out in the last 5 years. Guess what? This is still more interesting.
Mm-hmm.
This is still more interesting than any of those movies. Obviously, this comes out the same year as Endgame,
right.
which is a totally different beast.
Mm-hmm.
But everything post Endgame, with maybe the exception of
there's a couple exceptions.
Spider-Man,
generally,
yeah, like a lot of those other movies are doing the same recycled tropes.
Yep.
And this movie,
same story beats, same structure,
yeah.
Same CG, same action scenes, same jokes.
Yeah.
Yep.
So this movie, like I said, at the very least, flipped every goddamn table it could find to be like, I'm gonna do it differently. So in those terms, I really did enjoy this watch. Like, when I fucking got dialed in, feeling slightly less hungover, and just sat and watched it and thought about the characters, watching Joseph cry over his dad when we get any of those flashbacks, like at that little bit at the end with the train station where it cuts to Bruce Willis and him at the table that I told you was one of my favorite scenes.
Yep. In
Unbreakable, where he just goes like this.
Yep.
And
oh man,
I got choked up, man. It's just like, again, like that beautiful like love story of like a father and a son. And
every little boy thinks his dad is Superman, and in this case, he was.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's a great story.
Absolutely. So there are just some really beautiful, heartfelt moments, and so much more that I want to give than I want to take away right now. So I'm in the same ballpark. I'm very much at like a 6.5, like leaning towards a 7 after this watch. So I think we'll fuck it. We'll just be generous today. We'll give it a 7.
Give it a 7.
Yeah.
It's not as good as Split and Unbreakable, but it's not a bad movie by any means.
Yeah. So that is a 7 out of 10 for Glass for the Johnny Horror Podcast. I gotta be honest, when we fucking started this journey on Eastrail, I did not think that this is a rating that we were.
I thought for sure we were gonna land at like a 5.
Yeah, I thought it was gonna be at like a 5.
Mm-hmm.
So, maybe it's the booze. Maybe we're feeling a little bit sentimental, but
no, yes, but no, I think that we both saw the same thing. I think we both saw that there was actually a lot of good stuff in this movie.
Yeah. Final question for you.
Yes, sir.
If you were going to double feature this with something at the Johnny Horror Drive-In, what would you put it with?
All right, so I was thinking that this should be featured with a superhero movie that's not Marvel or DC.
Okay, yeah.
And when I think Marvel, not DC superhero movies that I like, I think The Incredibles. But The Incredibles is kind of a Marvel movie.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of a Fantastic Four movie.
Yeah.
So I said, nah, that doesn't work. So then the next movie that comes to my mind is Kick-Ass. I love Matthew Vaughn, and I love Kick-Ass. So I think Kick-Ass would be a really good choice. Like, I think that's a great double feature.
It's crazy that I ended up mentioning that too.
So I think Kick-Ass and Signs Glass is a great double feature.
Yeah.
But I decided I want to be weirder than that, and I want to show my personality a little bit.
Yeah.
So I chose Kick-Ass's weirder, dumber, poorer cousin, Super.
Oh, yeah, the James Gunn one, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
Written and directed by my boy James Gunn.
Yeah.
Super, I think, is, if you haven't seen it, that movie's fucking bonkers, and it's fantastic.
Yes.
And I think that's a great pairing with this, in terms of, like, offbeat, we're not Marvel, we're not DC, we're doing our own thing.
Yeah.
I think that's a good pairing with this movie.
Would you show it before or after Glass?
I think you have to show it after.
I think so too.
Because if you show it before, everyone's going to be too shell-shocked to watch Glass.
That is, you're coming in really hard into something.
I know. I mean, even, like, that pairing is, like, it's pretty wild, but, like, I think that's part of the fun, is, like, let's watch Glass, and we'll all be kind of, like, emotional and sentimental, and then we're going to watch Super, and we're going to get weird.
I like that. That was a good play.
Thanks.
I didn't have this until we started talking about, when you said Spielberg, even Spielberg has some duds, I started thinking, I was like, all right, cool. Like, who really is the modern day equivalent to Spielberg? And I immediately went, well, obviously Nolan. Mm-hmm. And I was like, but Nolan's track record is pretty much perfect. And
pretty flawless.
And then I was like, but there is one. And I was like, that is the one that makes little to no sense across the board and actually would pair fucking perfectly with this in terms of, like, there's scale and scope, and it's a fun ride with a shit ton of flaws, and that's Tenet. Like, yeah, I think that would actually be a really great... I think Tenet's fun, but God, there's just, like, you just throw logic to the wind in those terms.
Hey, you know what? I have I have very warm feelings about Tenet. It's probably Christopher Nolan's worst movie.
Yeah.
Like, I'll say that. Like,
yeah.
But I still like that movie.
Well, the thing is that, again, going back to what we said before, Christopher Nolan's worst movie is still pretty fucking
good.
Awesome.
Yep, that's right.
So, it has one of the coolest villains since the Joker, as far as I'm concerned. Kenneth Branagh in Tenet is on another level. Maybe that'll be a movie we cover one day. That's got some horror elements to it when we're talking about the end of the world and shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, guys, dude, Kalen, we fucking did it, man. We've only been talking about it since we started this fucking podcast.
That's right.
You know,
only been talking about it for years.
Oh, we fucking did it. We covered Eastrail, man. And thankfully, our train did not crash. We are just pulling in right now, and we survived. Really, really fun, really enjoyable conversations with you on this franchise, man. I really thoroughly enjoyed it. So thank you so much.
Yeah, I mean, this is our trilogy.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I agree 100%.
Yeah.
So there's literally nobody in the world that I would talk about this franchise with like this other than you. So thank you so much for that. I feel like we've dabbled around with it, and we've kind of been on a Shyamalan kick, which honestly, I don't know exactly what the rest of this year holds for us. I have a couple of ideas, but I feel like we just might stay on the Shyamalan train.
It's good with me.
Because we'll just say it right now. He and I have talked about it briefly. We haven't really confirmed it, but I'm just going to pull the trigger. We're going to do The Village next.
Oh, yeah.
Which I think is
a
movie I have not gone back to in a very long time. I just remember it being really unfairly hated upon.
Very much so.
They
had no spoilers here, but like, y'all are crazy if you hate that movie. Like,
yeah, I remember liking it quite a bit. Granted, I was fairly young when it came out, but I did not understand the hate. But maybe when I give it a rewatch, my perspective will have changed a little bit. So that's what's coming up for the Jony Horror Podcast. There is a potentially big event for this podcast that would be coming up probably closer to the fall. Just a little teaser for you guys, something that could be very exciting and fun, and still in line with our current season. So I won't say much more than that, but something for you guys to look forward to. For now, thank you all for listening. This is just like probably my favorite thing that we've done on this podcast. Like what I do with Brian on the Johnny Jaws cast is super duper great in terms of like being able to connect things to Jaws and watch all these other movies, and it's really fun and dynamic in a way that I feel like I don't like. A lot of podcasts don't just like try and find ways to connect movies to Jaws. And
they should, goddammit.
Goddammit. But in terms of like just absolutely like fun, very in-depth discussions, like none better than with you, Kalen, and this is again to be able to cover this trilogy was with you was just an absolute fucking blast and an honor. So thank you so much, sir, and thank you so much to everyone who listened, and we are looking forward to covering more movies, and hopefully you are looking forward to listen to us talk. But until then, bid all you motherfuckers adieu, and we will see all y'all on the flip side.
Peace.
Adios, muchachos!